Ladies and gentlemen, KRC presents the running of the Rackley Roofing 200 at the Nashville Superspeedway tonight for the Nascar Camping World Truck Series. Another live race commentary live stream for you guys on this Friday evening, and another one for the Truck Series, back-to-back weeks that we are doing the Truck Series on the channel today. I was having issues trying to get OBS connected to YouTube for some reason there, so sorry for a little bit later start time. By a couple minutes at least, but the race has not begun yet. The trucks are still on pit road as of right now. They just gave the command to fire engine, so the drop of the green flag will likely be just a few minutes away. But thanks for everybody tuning in tonight. First and foremost, as usual, like and subscribe for more daily NASCAR content. If you like these live race commentary live streams, we do them pretty much every weekend on the channel. Even the races I go to in person, I tend to try to do a truck or a Cup Series live, or a truck or a Xfinity Series live stream on the same weekend. But this weekend, not going anywhere. Just decided to do the Truck Series because it fits into my schedule tonight. And I will still be doing live commentary in 2 days for the Cup Series race on Sunday evening as well. Tonight's race is on Fox Sports 1 for those of you wondering in the chat. And speaking of those of you in the chat, thanks to Earl Arnold Jr., Have Fave the One, Billy Carjoy, Michael Head, Melinda Everett, Bentley Potts, Oscar Ramirez Herrera, and others, welcome into the stream. Already up to 10 likes as we're just getting things underway today. Our goal is going to be 100 tonight. It's going to be a fun night at the Nashville Superspeedway. 3 great races last year at this racetrack. I think tonight's going to kickstart another great weekend of NASCAR in the Music City. We are going to give you guys tonight's starting lineup. As you can see on your screens right now, the live leaderboard will show the top 30 and the running order throughout the course of the race. All the data times on their best lap for each of your favorite Truck Series drivers. Not just the last lap, but the best lap, the best speed of the race for them, and what lap they ran that best time. Any lead changes and different leaders, you'll get to see the laps led counter as well. Cautions and all that and much more. Trucks are still on pit road right now waiting to roll off onto the racetrack. But again, here is tonight's starting lineup. Ryan Preece and Zane Smith will be on the front row. Preece qualified on the pole earlier today, making another one of these few Truck Series starts this season in the Hunt Brothers Racing number 17 truck. Zane Smith is the most winningest driver in the Truck Series this season, starting outside of the front row. He'll be in the 3rd place starting position. Carson Hocevar and Corey Heim will be in row number 2, with Hocevar coming so close to winning so many times this year. Had a lower leg injury a couple weeks ago at Gateway. He is barely above the cutoff line of points, as I'll show you guys in a minute, so he needs a good run today. Corey Heim making a one-off start as well in the 51 truck. Not one off, but one of the few starts he's making in the Truck Series this season in that 51 truck for KBM. Qualified well. We'll see what he can do today. Derek Kraus and Chandler Smith will be in row 3. Chandler Smith, winner already this season in the heat of the battle for the regular season championship, coming in just 14 points out of first from his other teammate, John Hunter Nemechek. Grant Enfinger, Matt DiBenedetto will be in row 4. Enfinger lost the lead with 7 to go last year, ended up finishing in 3rd at Nashville. Great starting spot today. Stuart Friesen and Jack Wood will be in row 5. Friesen, a one-time winner this season on a 1.5 miles. John Hunter Nemechek and Ty Majeski will be in row 6. Nemechek comes in as the regular season points leader and 1 win on the season. Looking for more playoff points today and a shot maybe to pull ahead in the regular season standings a little bit more. Christian Eckes and Haley Deegan will be in row number 7. Eckes with 1 win on the season in that 98 truck. Ben Rhodes, Tyler Ankrum. Eckes is not locked into the playoffs. He is the highest in points, though, without a win of any driver this season in the 98. His teammate, though, Ben Rhodes, in row number 8, does have a win. Tyler Ankrum starting outside of him. Rhodes also within 10 points out of the regular season championship lead coming into tonight's race. Jesse Little and Matt Crafton in row number 3. Crafton, the last driver above the cutoff line on points coming into today's race, starting middle of the pack. It'll be interesting to watch him and how he does throughout the stages today. Chase Purdy and Chris Wright will be in row number 10. Blaine Perkins, Tanner Gray in row number 11. Parker Kligerman, Dean Thompson in row 12. Stephen Parsons, Timmy Hill in row 13. Spencer Boyd, Camden Murphy, Monster Jam driver, back in row number 14. Caden Honeycutt and Lawless Allen will be in row 15. The Onion, Todd Bodine in the field tonight in the 62 truck. He'll be starting on the inside of row 16. Outside of him, Colby Howard. Nick Lights and Chris Hacker will be in row 17. And rounding out the field of 36 trucks tonight will be Chase James and Max Gutierrez in row number 18. 1.33 mile intermediate racetrack, concrete surface, bankings in the corners of 14 degrees. This is a rough surface as we saw last year with all three series. And I'm sure that groove is going to widen out by the end of the night, especially the end of the weekend under the hot, slick conditions this year once again. 150 laps is the scheduled distance in this 200-mile race. Stage 1 will be 45 laps, Stage 2 will be 50 laps, and the final stage 55 laps, with the pit window of 65 to 70 laps, so they will not need to make a pit stop throughout any stages today. A very short race tonight. For some pre-race updates, here's the Fox Pit reporters.
Today, the past 4 races, they've been trying out some different setups, things that they did not like so much. They said, we actually learned what didn't work instead of what does work. This week, it's back to tried and true setups that they've run throughout the course of the year. They feel like that's going to get them back where they need to be as the playoffs get ready to start in terms of speed with that truck. Josh?
Well, John Hunter Nemechek called this his worst track last season. Yes, he finished top 10, but he ran in the mid-teens all race long, struggled to have speed, struggled to pass people. So this time around, they came to the track with a different setup and a different philosophy. Well, guess what? Didn't quite hit right off the bat in practice. They were 18th on the board, qualified outside the top 10. So John Hunter Nemechek and the Ford team say now it's about managing this race, being smart, making those adjustments they need during the race. So when it comes down to it, hopefully by the end of the race, they once again have a contending truck, Regan.
Josh Beck-Crafton sitting right above the cut line to get into the playoffs. Asked him earlier today how concerning that was. He said not at all. The biggest concern for them is getting the speed in that truck that they need to be able to make noise if they make it to the playoffs. He said if we don't make it, we don't deserve to be there. We're not going to be able to do anything anyways. Tonight, the truck was very good in practice. Unfortunately, got real tight for him in qualifying. He's got some work to do. He's starting 18th. They feel like they can move their way forward and make their way into those playoffs. Josh?
Well, Regan, this 8-race stretch has been tough for a lot of these teams, but Ty Majeski and the 66 team have been as consistent as they come. 5 top 5s in the last 7 races. They've been very strong, and they've been contending for wins. And speaking of wins, that's what Ty wants next. He says they have a good enough cushion that is above the cut line, so now they can get a little aggressive. They can make some gambles to try and get a win, and they're hoping that first win for Ty comes out here tonight.
It is a tight points battle. I mentioned that we were going to check him for the start of the race, and here it is. John Hunter Nemechek has just a 5-point lead over Zane Smith for the regular season championship coming into tonight's race. 15 playoff points are awarded to the regular season champion. There are just 3 races left in the Truck Series regular season coming into tonight's race. That means 2 when the checkered flag flies at the end of the night. Not only that, but Ben Rhodes is third in points, just 10 back of John Hunter Nemechek. Chandler Smith, just 14 points out of first. In fourth, Ty Majeski, also within 1 race worth of points. He is fifth in the standings, 43 out of first. Stuart Friesen, 49 out of first in sixth. So yes, mathematically, 6th place, Stuart Friesen could take the points lead tonight under some unprecedented circumstances from John Hunter Nemechek. That's how tight the regular season point standings are. The only drivers locked into the playoffs virtue of wins are John Hunter Nemechek, Zane Smith, Chandler Smith, Ben Rhodes, and Stuart Friesen. Ty Majeski is sitting 5th in the regular season standings. He is 113 points above the cutoff line coming in, almost 2 full races ahead. He actually may have a shot to clinch his way into the playoffs off of points tonight. Christian Eckes is 83 points above the cutoff line. He is 7th in the regular season standings. Carson Hocevar, 61 points above. Kind of a poor stretch of finishes for him in recent weeks have dropped him from over 100 points above the cutoff line now to just 61 above, but still just over one race ahead. As long as there's no winner below the cutoff line in these last 3 regular season races, I think he will make it into the playoffs no problem, but that is a little bit of a risk, because if he ends up moving back in the standings because of a driver below the cutoff line winning in points coming into this race, he would only be about 43 points ahead of Matt Crafton. Grant Enfinger is 58 points to the good coming in, 9th in the standings. And again, the last driver above the cutoff line is Matt Crafton, just 27 points to the good. 3-time series champion Matt Crafton on the bubble. Just hoping that nobody below that cutoff line will win. Derek Kraus, who had a great performance last week, cut that gap down just a little bit from 39 to 27 points out of 10th place, that last playoff spot on points behind Crafton. Matt DiBenedetto also closed the gap with a good run at Knoxville. He's only 43 points below the cutoff line. Tanner Gray 50 points below. Tyler Ankrum 53 below. So 4 drivers within a race worth of points of Crafton, of potentially pointing their way in as well. Chase Purdy in 15th on back, 106 out of first. All those guys from 15th on back in the point standings will all be in must-win situations these final 3 races of the regular season. The field has gotten the 1-to-go signal already, and they are halfway down the backstretch and will be going green this time to start the Rackley Roofing 200 at Nashville. Terry Lewis, I see you in the chat. Thanks for tuning in. It's IZ. Welcome to the stream as well. Again, like and subscribe for more daily NASCAR content for all of you watching right now on tonight's live stream of the Nashville Superspeedway Truck Series Race 2022 edition. Again, the running of the Rackley Roofing 200. First of 2 live race commentary streams this weekend. I'll be doing live commentary for the Cup Series race Sunday afternoon as well for the Ally 400. Pace truck is pulled onto pit road from the exit of turn 4. The field will be heading to the green flag. Pre-selects the outside lane. We are underway at Nashville in the Truck Series. Pretty tight into turns 1 and 2 between the 38 and the 17. Problems for the 15 truck of Tanner Gray pulling to pit road before the start of the race. Not sure what the issue is there. Maybe he's serving a penalty of some sort, but whatever the case, Tanner Gray on pit road at the start of the race. Zane Smith in the not preferred lane on the inside, able to get ahead of Ryan Preece down the backstretch, and he'll lead the opening lap of the race as they're now already through the tri-oval. After starting second, he got around the pole sitter on that opening lap and trying to set the pace early on. A lot of side-by-side racing still throughout the top 10, trying to follow themselves in line as Stuart Friesen's going to be able to clear Derek Kraus for position inside the top 10. And a battle for 5th place. Kraus up out of the groove. DiBenedetto will slide around him. Clear off the exit of turn 4. That is for 7th. In line right behind Chandler Smith in the 18 truck as well. Preece not disappearing from the back bumper of the 38 of Zane Smith. Smith has been the best Truck Series driver on the intermediate track so far this season. The best average finish of any Truck Series driver on the intermediate racetrack so far this year, and he has 1 win to show for, including a dominating race at Charlotte on 1.5 miles. But this concrete surface, a 1 1/3 mile oval, very unique. There's really no other racetrack on the circuit quite like it. Pretty much races like a short track with the narrow confines, heavy braking, especially going down into turn 1. It still has the sensation and the speed of an intermediate racetrack itself. Not highly banked, but banked enough progressively throughout the corners that, again, multiple lanes will be there by the end of the day. But for right now, at the beginning of the race until rubber lays down, it is going to be a fight for the bottom. All 3 series had practice sessions earlier today to lay at least a little bit of the rubber down. Side by side between DiBenedetto and Chandler Smith, as DiBenedetto is really trying to get going early. Loses the front nose of his race truck and has to pull back in line behind the 18 of Smith and try to hang on from a hard-charging Derek Kraus behind him. Another dive into turns 3 and 4 for DiBenedetto to the bottom of the track, and this time he'll be able to clear the 18 of Smith off the exit of turn 4 for 6th place. 5 laps complete out of 45 in Stage 1. Your top 10 runs Zane Smith in the race lead by 0.3 of a second over Ryan Preece. Carson Hocevar is in 3rd, Corey Heim 4th. Stuart Friesen rounds out the top 5. Matt DiBenedetto in 6th, Chandler Smith 7th, Derek Kraus 8th, Christian Eckes 9th, and Grant Enfinger rounds out the top 10. Preece started on the pole. Zane Smith has led the first 6 laps. Tanner Gray got penalized for fueling too soon. Well, before the race started? That's interesting. Race on FS1 or FS2? Race is on Fox Sports 1 tonight. I don't have Fox Sports 2, so definitely on Fox Sports 1 with me being able to watch it. Remember, the Truck Series still being broadcasted on FS1 the rest of the season. They have the rights. Fox does for the entire Truck Series schedule, but the rest of the Xfinity and Cup races will be on the NBC and USA networks. Oh, trouble! Turn 4, truck in the wall. The 24 has spun back across traffic. Truck's missing him to the inside and outside. Jack Wood in the 24 with heavy damage after losing control off the exit of turn 4. The 88 of Matt Crafton, bubble driver for the playoffs, is right behind him, and I'm not sure if he got into Wood or not. They're showing the replay right now, and that seemed to be the case. There was contact between Matt Crafton and Jack Wood. Wood lost the rear of the race truck and backed it into the outside wall hard, and that's likely going to end his day. Crafton definitely drove it in deep, and the 24 probably didn't realize he was down there at the same time with how deep of a corner entry Crafton had. Tough to tell exactly whose fault that was. Crafton, of course, trying to fight from a poor qualifying effort to hopefully get back in the top 10. Derek Kraus, the driver, trying to run him down in the points standings, 27 points below Crafton for that cutoff line spot, that last spot to get in on points. He is already in the top 10 after qualifying in the top 8. And Crafton outside the top 10 could be in danger of losing points to him early on. An aggressive move maybe by Crafton by driving it in a little deeper early in the race than what you would usually see. But there is a huge sense of urgency, obviously, from the 88 camp, and he felt the need to try and make that move, and it did not pan out, especially for Jack Wood. So caution is already out for the first time today at lap 7, officially. Track is slowly going to gain grip throughout the course of the night as the sun goes down. Central Standard Time would be Nashville, so it's only 7:25 there. It will likely be dark by the very end of the race, but there's definitely some daylight, especially in the backstretch from pretty much all the way through 1 and 2 to the exit, middle to exit of turn 4 is in the sun right now. Most of the front stretch, and really turn 4 itself, is in the shade currently. Here's Crafton's radio.
Well, the veteran thinks that it wasn't his fault.
Okay, never mind. I was a little late on that. I forgot what I'm hearing in my ears, like 10 seconds delayed from what's on my TV. Essentially, Crafton didn't think that it was his fault, and it was more on Jack Wood for crowding him in the middle of the corner. It was definitely a combination of the two. Crafton had such a big surge of momentum, and I don't think Wood was necessarily trying to block Crafton. I just don't think he thought he was going to be on the inside that quickly going off into the corner. Linda Everett is rooting for Haley Deegan. She had a decent qualifying effort, qualified 14th. Still looking for the first top 10 of the season. Definitely in a must-win situation to make the playoffs. And her best shot might have been at Knoxville last week, and she didn't run particularly well. She did good in her heat race. She did all right. She was in the top 10 from time to time. But in the situation she's at and trying to make the playoffs, like I said, you're going to have to compete for the win if you're going to get in that far back in the standings. I think you have to be in the top 20 in the regular season standings in the Truck Series, even with the win, to get in. And she's 22nd right now. And to get in the top 20, I guess she's only 12 points behind Lawless Allen for 20th. And Jack Wood was also in front of her, and he just wrecked. So she should move up a spot in the standings if she just finishes this race. So she can definitely get in the top 20 if she does win. Coincidentally, Ryan Preece, who has ran 5 races this season, is ahead of Hailie Deegan in points, who's ran the full season. Ouch. Parker Kligerman, who has ran 6 of the 13 races and isn't even running tonight, is ahead of her in points. Sorry for any Hailie Deegan fans out there, but that's pretty rough. Credit to both Preece and Kligerman having 2 top 5s on the season in their few starts they've made coming into tonight's race. Mark63, welcome to the stream. Deegan is a bust, at least in the Truck Series. Now, I will say, you never know. I would like to see how she does in Xfinity, because there have been some drivers that just can't get a hold of the trucks. And the trucks are so much different from the Xfinity and the Cup cars. It's really hard to base great talent in this series, especially when it's a Wreckfest more weekends than not. I feel like if you are winning a lot, you definitely have talent, but I mean, look at Harrison Burton, for instance. He never won a Truck Series race. And then in a couple seasons, wasn't it his first full-time season with JGR in the Xfinity Series, he won 4 races? And there's been a lot more examples in the past, too, where that has been the case. So for that reason alone, I would like to see her in an Xfinity car. And I'd say move her up now, because I just don't think she's going to really pan out in the Truck Series. I don't think it's worth letting her, continue to struggle here. Take the chance, and if she runs a season or 2 in the Xfinity Series and kind of runs the same spot, then I think at that point we can pretty much call it a bust. But you can definitely tell the Truck Series is not suited for her one way or another. So the outside lane is where Zane Smith will elect on the restart. Ryan Preece elects the outside behind him despite being in second, so that will now slide up the 42 of Carson Hocevar to the inside of row 1. Zane Smith actually started on the inside lane in row 1 from the second place position and got to the lead off the exit of turns 1 and 2. The outside is usually the preferred lane, but I don't know if Preece didn't take off well or Zane Smith just flat out took off better. It's also surprising that Smith got to the lead on the bottom and decides to go to the top this time. I think we're going to have a good idea if it's just Zane Smith nailing the restarts or if the inside lane is more preferred than the outside and the trucks keep taking the outside depending on how Hocevar does here. If he can get to the lead on this restart, I think more truck drivers should start taking the inside lanes on restarts going forward today. About to go green following the first caution of the race for Jack Wood, spinning in turns 3 and 4 on lap number 7. It'll be lap 14 on the restart. Green flag back in the air. Zane Smith on the outside, Carson Hocevar on the inside at road number 1 as they work their way through the gears. Big bump draft from the 17 truck of Ryan Preece to the back of the 38, launching Smith into turns 1 and 2, and he's already clear of Hocevar down low. Friesen nearly went 3 wide up the middle between the 2 KBM trucks of the 51 of Heim and the 18 of Chandler Smith. Thought better of it, falls back, and sits behind them and still picks off Smith on the back straightaway on the high side. Top 10 pretty quickly single-filed out down to the bottom lane into turns 3 and 4. Zane Smith will lead the opening lap following the restart and continue to have led every lap of the race so far. Ryan Preece started outside of road number 2, quickly got to second. Now they're 3 wide in turn 1 further back, just outside the top 10 with Nemechek, Crafton, and Entfinger. Crafton loses a little bit of the front nose of his race truck, moves up the track, causing the 23 to stack up and lift behind him as Nemechek clears down low. Now it's 3 wide behind. Hailie Deegan, Chase Purdy, and Grant Entfinger towards turns 3 and 4. And the same thing happened to Purdy. What happened to Kraft in the corner before where he lost the nose, slipped up the racetrack, lifted, causing more of a stack up in the trucks behind him, so they all keep it off of one another. Damage on the restart to the Ford truck of John Hunter Nemechek. It's going to be interesting to watch, and hopefully he doesn't have a tire down. It does look like the right front lettering is rubbed off of the tire. Nemechek's had some rough goes on restarts this season, and really the end of last year, transferring over to this season for that matter. Still good battle for the lead at the front of the field between Zane Smith and Ryan Preece. Preece hasn't found a way behind him, but he stayed within 2 truck lengths of him this entire race. Dirty air not causing a big problem on Preece. More 3-wide action at the back of the pack into turn 3. Few Thor Motorsport trucks. Actually, all 3 of them were Thor Sport trucks of Majeski, Eckes, and Rhodes. And now a bump draft through the tri-oval on the high side. Ben Rhodes and Majeski working around the 98. John Hunter Nemechek had a big run getting in, and now Rhodes loses the nose. And Eckes is going to get right back around him, clear off of turn 2. Leaving Nemechek nowhere to go. Those drivers battling for 9th through 12th. Rhodes with a big block on Nemechek, who sent it into the corner. Nemechek had his left side tires nearly down on the apron in the middle of the corner, trying to dive underneath of Rhodes. And Rhodes gaps him by about 3 or 4 truck lengths in the tri-oval in the aftermath of it. Top 5 quickly. Zane Smith the leader by 0.3 of a second over Ryan Preece. 2.2 seconds off the lead is Corey Hyman third. Carson Hocevar fourth. 2.3 seconds off the lead. Stuart Friesen is fifth. 4.3 seconds off the race lead. Lap 19 of 45 in stage 1 at the Nashville Superspeedway for the running of the Rackley Roofing 200. Live on KRC. Over 30 people watching right now in the stream. Be sure to hit that like button, subscribe for more daily NASCAR content if you have not already. 13 likes. Our goal is 100 tonight. Usually get over 100 people watching the Xfinity and Truck Series streams throughout the course of the season. Caution is out on the Speedway for the second time. Another truck has backed it into the outside wall, and this time it is the 30. And that is Camden Murphy in the 30 truck. And the first start of the year for Murphy is going to end very early on lap 21, bringing out our second caution of the day. He's going to be able to drive away for now, but that damage looks very unfixable. And you can tell, for those of you watching, that even the front suspension is quite messed up after the transition from the banking back down to the apron in the middle of the corner as well. Murphy, full-time Monster Jam driver, made some starts in the Truck Series last year, had a couple of top 10s. This is his first start this season, middle portion of the year. I'm not sure if he ran at Nashville or not last season. Tough to tell exactly from the camera angles so far what exactly happened. Most of the camera angles we got were off of cameras from other trucks in the field around him. It looked like it could have been the similar incident to what happened between Jack Wood and Matt Crafton earlier, where Wood kind of chopped down on Crafton and spun himself off the front bumper of the 88. Crafton drove it in deep, and it looked like that might have been the case that time in turns 1 and 2 versus the Wood and Crafton incident was in turns 3 and 4. So again, 2 cautions in the race already in stage number 1, lap 7 and 19 officially. Tanner Gray did get the free pass during the first caution of the race after having to serve a penalty at the start. Quickly went a lap down, but quickly got that lap back. Chase Janes also dropped out of the race on lap 1 in the 46 truck with a mechanical failure, potentially. Maybe start and park, I don't know. What team owns that 46 truck? Maybe they start and parked, I have no clue. He did not time a full lap in. He pulled off after the first lap, but did start. How about Todd Bodine after qualifying outside the top 30? Is up to 22nd, despite the fact we haven't had many green flag laps so far today. Should put the following in equal equipment between Haley Deegan, Gracie Trotter, Bridget Burgess, Tony Breidinger. I don't really know much on Bridget Burgess. Or Burgess. I don't know how you say her last name. I don't really know much about her. Gracie Trotter's still really young. Isn't she still a teenager? Like 18? Maybe even younger than that? I have no clue exactly how old she is, but I know she's a few years younger than Deegan. Be interesting what could come out of her on the track in the coming years. As far as Tony Breidinger goes, I don't know about that because I don't know where she's at in the ARCA standings. I haven't really looked at it. I don't know where she finished last. I don't think she ran full-time last year, though. But she's running for Venturini, isn't she? That's one of the top programs in the ARCA series. I feel like I never really... I've only seen 2 ARCA races in person. Bristol last year and Daytona this year. Both races she kind of ran mid-pack. Which in ARCA isn't great when you're in that good of equipment. But that's just 2 races I've seen. I don't really watch ARCA enough to know exactly how she's, doing this season. And races outside of those 2 that I saw in person. William Ayers, welcome to the stream. Watching from Indiana, NASCAR is awesome. Yes, it is, and he came to the right place. Here's Jack Wood on the incident with Matt Crafton.
Matt's a good guy. I don't think he meant to do that on purpose. I think for me it's just frustrating. We've had a pretty tough season, and I think this was going to be the race to hopefully turn it around. But, tough times don't last, but tough people do. And just proud of the guys at Chevy and everyone at GMS for working as hard as they do. Just keep our heads down and keep digging. So, unfortunate.
Thanks, Jack.
I just love it.
13 races, no top 10s for Jack Wood. His best finish was 13th at Atlanta earlier this season. His day ended on lap 7 after a spin in turn 4 off the front bumper of Matt Crafton. There's a little donut on the side of Crafton's race truck, and I wonder if that's who John Hunter Nemechek got into on that last restart following that incident with Jack Wood, because there was some lettering rubbed off the side of the right front tire of Nemechek's race truck. And they were around each other on the restart. I would not be surprised if that was the case. Zane Smith will look the outside again. Priest behind him. And this time it'll be Corey Heim in the 51 on the inside of row number 1. Green flag back in the air with 21 laps to go at stage 1. And the Rackley Roofing 200 at Nashville. 3 wide to the bottom for the lead into turn 1. Stuart Friesen is going for it from the inside of row number 2, squeezing Heim in the middle. And he is not going to be clear off the exit of the corner as they run tight. 3 wide down the backstretch. Priest with the run on the outside. Lack of momentum on the bottom for Friesen. And they're going to be 2 by 2 now as they enter into the corner. Priest is clear for second. Friesen still drives it in deep. Slide job into 3 and 4. Trying to take the line away of the 51 of Heim. Still not clear. And still side by side as they aggressively side draft off of turn number 4. Carson Hocevar got a little out of shape. Might have grazed the wall off the exit of turn 4. Loses 3 spots on the front stretch. And is still stuck on the outside lane, which is unpreferred at this point in the race with the lack of rubber laid down on the racetrack still, with the lack of green flag laps being ran in the opening stage. Hocevar shuffled back to 7th place on the restart after being inside of row number 2. Zane Smith has about a half a second lead over Ryan Priest, currently in 2nd. Still a lot of 2x2 racing in the middle of the pack. Bodine's up to 18th place in the 62 truck on the move. He's had a couple top 10s this season in the few starts he's made. A reunion/farewell tour for Todd Bodine's been out of the series for a few seasons. Came back to run a handful of races this year in a farewell tour. And Bodine just scraped the wall off the exit of turn 4, but didn't lose momentum. Still going to get around Chase Purdy on the front stretch. 3 wide behind him with Tanner Gray. And Gray gets sideways into the corner, trying to send it 3 wide. Nearly turning himself, made a great save, and now he's 3 wide on the outside with the 0-2 and the 40 underneath him. Nearly lost it after trying to go full send mode into turns 1 and 2. Crazy racing right now at the back of the pack. Gray trying to come back after that penalty early in the race. Nearly getting squeezed into turn 1 now by the 40 truck on the bottom. All this battling's outside the top 20, by the way, between these drivers. It was Blaine Perkins in the 9 truck who Gray had gotten into, and it looked like Gray had actually kind of clipped the yellow line on the apron going into turn 1, which caused him to get a little sideways. Tight confines, not a track you really want to be running 3 wide, and tried to push the issue early on. A track position he lost at the start of the race with that penalty. He's trying to get it back as quickly as he can. They're showing a lot of camera work right now at the back of the field outside the top 20 with the crazy racing still going on. 0-2 in the 22. Battling. Jesse Little and Max Gutierrez in those 2 trucks. Jesse Little running a John Deere paint scheme today, similar to his dad, Chad Little, back in the Busch Series days in the late 90s into the early 2000s. Bodine came back full-time. He would be a threat for the championship. I think he would definitely have a shot. That 62 truck, is that a Friesen Hallmar Racing truck? Because I know when Jessica Friesen runs a 62 it is, but I'm not sure if that is the same team or not. And if it is, yeah, he's had some good runs. I don't know if he'd be a threat for the championship, but I think he could make a play. He would definitely be a threat to making it into the playoffs. Just goes to show how much experience matters, even when you've been out of the sport for a few years. We've looked at the starts like from Greg Biffle coming out of retirement to win his first truck race back after 3 years of absence on the top 3 series in NASCAR a few years ago. Much younger field in the truck and Xfinity series now than really ever before. A lot of aggressive side drafting on the straightaways and a lot of bonsai moves on corner entry throughout the course of the field, which has made for some very interesting racing from really the back half of the top 10 all the way back to the rear of the field. 12 laps to go currently in Stage 1. We'll take a full field rundown for the first time and only time at Stage 1 so far today. Zane Smith has a 1.5 second lead over Ryan Preece, his largest lead of the day. Corey Heim is in 3rd place right now, 3.4 seconds off the lead. Stuart Friesen in 4th, 4.8 seconds off the lead. And Chandler Smith rounds out the top 5 at 5.4 seconds off the lead. Derek Kraus is in 6th. Carson Hocevar fell back to 7th on that last restart. Ty Majeski in 8th. Matt DiBenedetto 9th. And Christian Eckes rounds out the top 10. John Hunter Nemechek is in 11th. Ben Rhodes in 12th. Tyler Ankerd 13th. Grant Enfinger 14th. And Matt Crafton is 15th. Haley Deegan in 16th. Todd Bodine 17th. Chase Purdy 18th. Parker Kligerman 19th. Colby Howard is 20th. Blaine Perkins in 21st. Dean Thompson 22nd. Tanner Gray up to 23rd. Jesse Little 24th. Max Gutierrez 25th. Wallace Allen 26th. Chris Wright 27th. Timmy Hill 28th. Stephen Parsons in 29th. And Spencer Boyd is 30th. Nick Lights 31st. Chris Hacker 32nd. Caden Honeycutt 33rd. And then the 3 trucks out of the race so far today. 2 for crashes and 1 for a mechanical failure. On the opening lap, Camden Murphy 34th, Jack Wood 35th, and Chase Jones had the mechanical failure. We'll round out the 36 truck field so far. We've had 2 cautions in the opening stage, and we have 10 laps to go in this opening stage for Zane Smith to try and pick up yet another playoff point on the season, and big points for himself trying to get into the regular season championship picture. He's 5 points behind John Hunter Nemechek coming into the night for the regular season championship. And currently right now, Nemechek is running outside the top 10 with Zane Smith leading. That could be massive points and give Zane Smith the outright regular season championship lead just at the end of stage 1 alone. There's a slow truck on the back straightaway right now. Fox is on a side-by-side commercial break. It's the 46 who has tried to come back out onto the racetrack. That's Chase Janes. So Chase Janes, very slow. He had that mechanical failure on lap number 1. Came back out. He's slow, immediately exiting pit road on the backstretch. I don't know if it's that they had to complete a lap because he didn't beforehand. Maybe he had to complete a lap to get the the money for making the start. I don't know how that works exactly, but regardless of the fact he came back out, and by doing that, he technically completed a lap. And he is likely going to be on his way back to pit road, but we stay green, so he was able to stay out of the way, so no caution. Bobby Tracy, welcome to the stream. Wanted to have 800 starts. That's what it was. I couldn't remember the milestone, but I do remember there was a milestone he was chasing. That's why he came back to get to that. I didn't know it was 800. That's not all in the truck series, though, right? That's like 800 within all 3 series. The truck series only has ran like 20 to 25 races a season. So obviously there hasn't even been enough truck races, I don't think. Because even in those early years of the truck series, they only ran like 8 races and stuff like that, 10 races. And he wasn't even in the truck series at that time. Still impressive. Goes to show how long Todd Bodine's been around the sport. With starts in all 3 of the top series and wins in both the Xfinity and the trucks. Of course, a couple championships in the truck series. Competed for a couple championships in the early to mid 2000s in what was then the Busch series, now the Xfinity series. Carson Hocevar and Derek Kraus currently battling for 6th. It's the closest battle of anybody inside the top 10 currently. Outside of Stuart Friesen and Chandler Smith, who are about 0.8 of a second apart from each other in the 4th and 5th place positions. Carson Hocevar with a bold move through 3 and 4, trying to side draft the right rear corner panel of Derek Kraus, and he was able to just take the air off the rear spoiler enough that forced the 19 to have to lift in the middle of the corner in an awkward position. And Hocevar will make the pass on a lane that really isn't there. That was an impressive move by Hocevar, an injured Hocevar nonetheless, to make the pass for 6th. And Hocevar without a win this season, 8th in the standings coming in. He is 61 points ahead of the cutoff line, but just trying to put himself in a safer spot in these final couple races in case a winner below the cutoff line comes about. At least as of stage 1 right now, the highest running of the Truck Series regulars without a win would be Hocevar in 6th, but both Hocevar and Majeski are in the top 10 in the regular season standings as it is, even though they both don't have wins. DiBenedetto will be the closest driver below the cutoff line right now at the front of the field. He is in 9th and has looked pretty good early. Stuck in traffic, of course, track position always the name of the game in really any form of motorsports. Obviously, some tracks are a little bit easier to pass than others if you do have a faster race truck than the opposing truck that you are trying to battle for position. But that could definitely vary. Smithfield CEO, welcome to the stream. Why are races on USA Network this year? That is because there's no NBC Sports Network. The NBC Sports Network isn't even a thing anymore. Channel got shut down at the end of last calendar year. So that's why the races are on USA Network. It's an NBC affiliate channel. Green and white checkered flag is in the air. Zane Smith will win stage number 1. Ryan Preece will end up finishing in 2nd. Corey Heim 3rd. Stuart Friesen 4th. Chandler Smith will round out the top 5 in the opening stage. Carson Hocevar 6th. Derek Kraus 7th. Ty Majeski 8th. Matt DiBenedetto 9th. And Christian Eckes will round out the top 10. The 91 truck just spun off of turn 4. After the yellow, it already came out for the stage end. That was Colby Howard in the 91. It looks like his left rear is skewed as if he may have slid into the outside wall. And that was the case. No, he did not. Interested how he got the damage around the left rear and the left front of that race truck. But nonetheless, he lost control, spun after the yellow was already out for the stage break. And he was battling outside the top 15, so I'm not sure what that was really all about. Just trying to get every last spot before the stage yellow came out and pushed a little too hard. Hard to measure Todd Bodine in the Cup Series because he didn't drive for... Yeah, that is right. He pretty much drove for backmarker teams his entire Cup career. Which is interesting because the Bodine family obviously had success in the Cup Series, so you wonder if he could have had better equipment. Maybe he could have actually been a decent Cup driver. I'm not saying he would have been championship caliber by any means, but I mean, who knows? He could be a serviceable driver. I think he could have been like on the same lines of like a Ricky Craven or someone like that. I could definitely feel that. Maybe he could have won a few races, like a John Andretti level kind of driver. Maybe get a couple wins in the Cup Series. I think he could have been a Cup Series winner at least. But, yeah, the newcomers into the chat so far, Vex, Smithfield CEO, Bobby Tracy. Welcome into the stream, William Ayers. Is back, over 50 people watching at the end of Stage 1 so far. Grateful for NASCAR streams on Reddit. I missed the races this year. Well, there you go. Thanks for tuning in to a stream like this as well. Surprised we didn't see any blown tires in the Cup practice. Pretty relieved. I don't know. I didn't get to watch practice because I was at work today, so I don't know how long they were staying out. One thing I've noticed with most tracks this season, it seems like the left rear tire issues that we have seen have been longer into the green flag runs, like 30 to 40 laps. So if they didn't run 30 to 40 lap stints, then maybe that's why you didn't see any tires go down. Because there have been races this year where that has been the case, where they haven't ran long enough in a practice session. We tend to see them in the race still. And I've kind of mentioned in the past, that's where it seems like it's more of a Goodyear issue, I feel like, because if it's happening that late into the run, I don't think you could blame it on the tire pressures being too low, because they'll heat up over time, and the air pressure will build and get larger, so they're not likely not below the minimum requirement by the time the tires blow anyway, so I don't know how it really correlates with one another. I could see it not that far after a restart, which does happen from time to time, but usually it's like 30 plus laps into the run when it's happening. Like Briscoe at Gateway, wasn't it with like 10 to go in stage 1 or something like that? He had like 30 laps on his tires, 35 laps on his tires. So again, Zane Smith won stage number 1. We'll be seeing some pit stops. Again, no pit stops will have to be made during the actual stages themselves. So the only pit stops you're likely going to be seeing will be during the 2 stage breaks tonight, with the short race and the short stage lengths to go along with it. Stage 1 was 45 laps. Stage 2 again 50 laps, 55 laps in stage 3. R6, welcome to the stream. Chastain had a 25 lap run, no problem. Not quite to that 30 to 35 lap marker yet, but that is definitely a step in the right direction. It's a little bit relieving. We'll have to see. I'm sure we'll have long enough runs that we'll get to that 35, 40 lap marker, at least one, you would think. I just saw somebody with a Subway Nationwide Series fire suit on one of the pit crews. You can definitely tell that it literally had the Nationwide Series logo on it. It has not been the Nationwide Series in a while. That is an old fire suit. Here are the pit stops during the stage 1 break.
Start to Korgheim's first trip to Nashville right now, though. That truck just a little bit too loose on throttle, especially off of turn 4. He needs grip on the right rear. At that part of the track in the 17 of Brian Priest. He's good through turns 1 and 2, but too tight in the middle of 3 and 4. It was coming in, though, as it ran. He liked that truck better as we got later in the run. Josh?
And speaking of liking their truck, the 38 of Zane Smith led every lap so far, picking up his 6th stage win of the season. His only complaint, just a little too tight, so they're going to make an adjustment to tire and free him up so we can turn a little better, guys.
There was an uncontrolled tire somewhere, I don't know what team it was, but a pit crew member ran out in the middle of pit lane with oncoming traffic to go retrieve that tire, and then went back to his pit box. That man's got some cojones on him. And glad that everything was fine there. He had tripped and lost the tire. Then somebody else ran out for it right in front of one of the ThorSport trucks. That's insane. I don't know if that's going to be an additional penalty for a safety violation with that happening on top of the uncontrolled tire. But needless to say, everybody was all right. And Ty Majeski won the race off of pit road with a 2-tire stop. He was in 6th place at the end of stage 1. Kind of minding his own business right in that position. Oh, I logged out of Hulu. I gotta go back. I don't know how that happened. I think I fat fingered my remote. I believe Majeski was the only driver that took 2 tires on pit road. Free pass also went to the 12 truck at the end of stage number 1. Being driven by Spencer Boyd tonight. Longest green flag run of the race was the 21 laps we had after that restart, after the Camden Murphy spin. He did almost get hit. I mean, Majeski literally swerved to miss him. It wasn't like he was like right in front of him, like last second kind of swerve, but he did swerve probably about 10. I mean, obviously, even pit road speed's 45 miles an hour here? 45 miles an hour. I mean, obviously, that still happens quick when you're, 20, 30, 40 feet in front of a person. You don't know which way he's going to move, too. You don't know if he's going to look before he runs back. Glad he didn't get hit. That would have been terrible. Very pleased overall with the Gen 7. What do I think about it? I think the racing itself is great. Honestly, outside of the tire issues, I think everything is going swell with the next gen. Tire issues in the flatter racetracks, the flatter short tracks seems to be an issue. The intermediate tracks that are not flat that we've gone to, that are the shorter tracks that are not flat that we have gone to, like Dover, that wasn't an issue. So I think Bristol will be all right. Multiple grooves at that track too. So I don't think it's much of a short track issue as what it is more of an issue of trying to pass on flatter tracks like Gateway, Martinsville. I'm sure New Hampshire is probably going to have the same problem next month. Potentially Pocono. Which usually Pocono kind of races like that anyway. Just because of the high speeds and sharp angled corners. It's already a one groove track as it is. Like and subscribe again for more daily NASCAR content. Goal is 100 likes on tonight's stream. We are at the end of stage 1. Over 50 of you watching, but only 24 likes. So definitely hit that like button. 98 laps to go in tonight's Truck Series race. We just wrapped up stage number 1. Couple spins in there from Camden Murphy and Jack Wood. Heading into the choose cone right now. And Matt DiBenedetto had a pit road penalty. He'll be restarting at the rear of the field. Sorry, it was not a penalty. It was not a penalty for Matt DiBenedetto. He actually had to come back onto pit road and retighten some lug nuts that may not have been secured tightly enough. So that's why he has dropped to the back. He was 9th at the end of stage 1. We'll see if he can work his way back into the top 10. In a short race, that is going to be very difficult, especially on a track like this. Tight confines at Nashville. It's going to be an interesting restart. Again, Majeski took only right side tires to try and gain some track position. He is in the preferred lane on the restart on the outside with Zane Smith underneath him. Green flag back in the air. Smith was able to get to the lead on the inside lane on the initial start earlier. We'll see if he can do it on this restart this time. Into turns 1 and 2, having the shortest way around the racetrack. He is clear again. Zane Smith is the restart master on the inside so far tonight. 3x3, 4 wide now, middle of the pack off of turn 2. They're going to file down to about 3 wide as they make it into turn 3. Right around where Matt Crafton, Parker Kligerman, and Grant Enfinger are. In between positions 10th and 15th. Scrambled in there. Ben Rhodes with a run off turn 4. He goes up the middle between the 16 of Ankrum and the 52 of Friesen. Ankrum is going to have to drift way back, losing about 3 positions from the exit of turn 4 to the entrance of turn 1, dropping him all the way back to 13th and falling still. More of a run from Enfinger on the high lane as he gets around Rhodes and Derek Kraus through turns 1 and 2 on the high side. I think that outside lane is slowly starting to come in now that we're in the early going of stage number 2. Restarts have been crazy in the middle of the pack so far. Fairly tame at the front of the field up to this point. Zane Smith, who has led every green flag lap of the race today. The only laps he has not led was when Majeski led during the caution period after winning the race off of pit road with his 2-tire stop, and quickly he is back to 5th. It was a risky call considering he was in 6th place. The first we're really getting to see how much tire fall off there is. Corey High making a pass on Christian Eckes on the high side through turns 3 and 4 for 3rd. He's going to try to run down the top 2 of Zane Smith and Ryan Preece. Ryan Preece was my prediction to win tonight's race. Qualified on the pole. He's pretty much ran second to Smith all night long. He held on in the early going of stage 1. That last restart, Zane Smith was able to pull away and ended up ultimately winning the stage by a couple seconds over Preece. Smith the truck to beat today, but if anybody's going to have anything for him, it looks like Ryan Preece is going to be the driver. Matt Crafton still outside the top 10 right now. Derek Kraus scored stage points in stage 1. 27 points was Kraus below the cutoff line on Crafton for that final spot. With 3 races to go in the regular season coming into tonight's race. Todd Bodine feeling gutsy going up the middle 3 wide between Tanner Gray and Parker Kligerman. Gray squeezing the 2 trucks underneath him into turns 3 and 4. They're going to make it without any contact through the corner. I think Gray might be holding up both the 75 and the 62 behind him. Bodine going to clear into turn 1 and move down to the bottom himself. Doesn't have to worry about Parker Kligerman in the 75 anymore. It's a 3-truck battle for 15th currently. And remember that Bodine started outside the top 30 after qualifying. Sends it deep into turns 1 and 2 and a truck in the wall. Tanner Gray, I believe, blew a right front tire. And that's going to bring out another caution. Right front tire down on Tanner Gray's race truck. He has some pretty heavy sparks as he has pancaked it. They're still green. I was surprised that was not a caution. He's able to get to pit road and we somehow stay green. Tanner Gray blows a right front tire, hits the outside wall, gets to pit road. And whatever point situation he was in coming into the race below the cutoff line, that is going to definitely put him in a must-win situation going into the final 2 races of the regular season at Mid-Ohio and Pocono. I didn't think there was any contact into the wall from Gray nor the 62 or the 75 when he was battling, so it's interesting how he blew the right front. But he was very slow going into the corner. I thought the 62 had just drove it in really, really deep, but I don't think that was the case. Matt Crafton losing a couple spots as well over recent laps. Looking slow as the 75, the 62, and the 16 have all passed him. Dropping Crafton to 16th. Still about a half a second difference between the top 2 at the front of the field. Zane Smith leads by half a second over Ryan Preece. Corey Heim in 3rd. Christian Eckes 4th. Chandler Smith rounds out the top 5. Ty Majeski in 6th. John Hunter Nemechek 7th. Stuart Friesen 8th. Carson Hocevar 9th. And Derek Kraus is your top 10 in Stage 2. Richard Hull, welcome to the stream. And welcome all of you tuning in, whether you're in the chat or not, to the live commentary live stream of tonight's Truck Series race at Nashville Superspeedway. Zane Smith has dominated this race, kind of like we saw in a previous live stream of a truck race this season back at Charlotte. Last intermediate track that these guys were on as well. John Hunter Nemechek just made a pass on the outside of Carson Hocevar through turns 1 and 2 to move himself up to 8th place, race high in position for Nemechek. His two teammates of Corey Heim and Chandler Smith have been in the top 5 all night. Nemechek, who qualified outside the top 10, just slowly but surely trying to get his way through the field. And the next truck ahead of him is Ty Majeski, who took right sides only during the pit stops during the Stage 1 break, so he may be able to get around him soon. He's within a couple tenths of a second of him. And is also within only about 6/10 of a second of 6th place Stuart Friesen. Full screen commercial break at Stage 2. We'll take a full field rundown of your Stage 2 running order. Again, Zane Smith has a 6/10 of a second lead over Ryan Preece in second. 3 seconds off the lead is Corey Heim in third. Christian Eckes is 5.3 seconds off the lead in fourth, and Chandler Smith is fifth, 6.4 seconds off the lead. Stuart Friesen's in 6th place. Ty Majeski 7th. John Hunter Nemechek, as mentioned, is in 8th. Carson Hocevar back to 9th, and Dirk Kraus rounds out the top 10. Grant Enfinger in 11th. Ben Rhodes 12th. Todd Bodine up to 13th after starting outside the top 30. He's the biggest mover of the race so far. Tyler Ankram's in 14th, and Matt Crafton is stagnated in 15th. Parker Kligerman also started deep in the field as 16th. Blaine Perkins 17th. Max Gutierrez, who started in that last row today, is up to 18th. Chase Purdy 19th, and Haley Deegan has dropped from 14th starting spot back to 20th. Timmy Hill is 21st. Matt DiBenedetto 22nd after having to retighten lug nuts after the pit stop during the Stage 1 break. He was 9th at the end of Stage 1. He's on his comeback trail currently in 22nd. Colby Howard's in 23rd. Lawless Allen 24th. Dean Thompson 25th. Chris Wright in 26th, Jesse Little 27th, Stephen Parsons is 28th, 29th is Spencer Boyd, and Caden Honeycutt, first truck, a lap down, is actually 2 laps down in 30th. Nick Lights in 31st, Chris Hacker 32nd, Tanner Gray 33rd. Gray just blew a right front tire early in the stage, but there was no caution. He came to pit road. I think he is back on the racetrack, but 6 laps down and probably off the pace, I'd have to imagine, with his heavy damage. And then the 3 trucks out of the race, 34 through 36, will be Camden Murphy, Jack Wood, and Chase Janes. 3 cautions so far, 2 for incident, 1 for the stage break. They are under caution for the 4th time today now at lap 68. It's during the Fox full screen commercial break, so I was not able to see what the caution was out for, but we are under caution for the 4th time today at Nashville. 37 points, 10-point penalty. Oh, and problems for Nemechek. And also damage to the right front of Carson Hocevar as they have come back from the commercial break now during the yellow. A slide through the front stretch grass, it seems like, from John Hunter Nemechek. He's got some on the grill, and his right front tire appears to be down, maybe in a flat spot following a spin. Those two were battling for 8th place just before the commercial break, and I guess they were battling again. Showing the replay currently right now, it looked like Nemechek was wiggling all the way through turns 1 and 2, and Hocevar ended up just hooking him off the exit of turn 2. So it was the back stretch in which Nemechek had slid through in the grass, causing that caution. Yeah, and just as Michael Waltrip and Phil Parsons in the booth are saying, it looked like it was a block from Nemechek off the exit of turn 2. Hocevar had gotten to the inside of Nemechek off the exit of the corner. The Ford truck was way off the wall, probably about halfway off the wall in the apron of the track off the exit of the corner, trying to throw a late block. And he turned himself off the front bumper of Hocevar, and I don't blame Hocevar for not giving him that kind of space. So Nemechek spun himself, and that's going to send him to the back of the pack late in Stage 2. He did not get any stage points in Stage 1, finished 11th. And Zane Smith, who came in 5 points below him in the regular season standings. Obviously, it's going to cost any sort of stage points for Nemechek in Stage 2. And he's probably going to have a big points deficit if he can't get a good finish out of this race either for that regular season championship with just 2 races to go in the regular season after tonight. That has opened up the floodgates for those 15 playoff points for Zane Smith, Chandler Smith, and Ben Rhodes, who all came in within the top 10. Even Rhodes is outside the top 10 right now as well, is in 12th. Chandler Smith, Zane Smith, the only 2 of those drivers in stage point positions right now. Hocevar coming onto pit road. That's big. With that damage to the right front fender. There are trucks on pit road during this caution flag period, which is interesting because the pit window is almost open to the end of the race. 65 to 75 laps is the estimated pit window. Currently, there is 78 laps to go in the race, but you obviously have the caution laps that they are running right now. Plus, you know you're going to get at least one more yellow with the stage break. So I wonder if these drivers are thinking about staying out of the pits at the end of the stage, or maybe just taking fuel only during the stage break itself to try and get out in front. Ben Rhodes was also on pit road from 12th. Tyler Ankrum was in the pits of notable drivers that were there. Matt DiBenedetto, who had that penalty, also came in. He had top 10 speed early. Big tape job on the right front fender of the 42 of Hocevar. He's off and away. That's definitely going to be quite a bit of aerodynamic deficiency. It looked like he pretty much had a hole in the right front fender after the contact from the Ford truck of Nemechek. Okay, Nemechek wiggled all the way through turns 1 and 2 and tried to pull a defensive move off the exit of the corner to stay in front of Hocevar with a block. He was not clear and turned himself, and obviously causing damage to Hocevar in the process. Patrick Chadley, welcome into the chat and into the stream. Thanks for everybody watching, over 60 viewers currently. Hit that like button, subscribe for more daily NASCAR content as we go into tonight's live stream. Pulling ever so slightly to 2.3 thousand subscribers on the channel. I think we can get there by the end of the Cup race this weekend. Should be able to. And we'll see if we can set a stream record this weekend for the Cup Series. The last 2 Cup races on the channel. I know it's been a little bit since the Cup Series live commentary live stream. But the last 2 we have of 946 and 945 concurrent viewers during the course of the stream. So definitely come out on Sunday. Should be a pretty big party in the chat, I'd have to imagine, again, during the Ally 400. Our live stream will start at 4:30. The race will start just after 5 with the drop of the green flag right around 5:15. Pre-race coverage, fantasy analysis, betting advice, and more leading up to the start of that race, which is why we start the streams for the Cup Series about a half hour before the actual race coverage starts. Appreciate that, Smithfield CEO. Zane Smith again will elect the outside lane. Cade Honeycutt got the free pass during the caution flag period, so he's back on the lead lap. Green flag back in the air at Nashville. Big push on the bottom lane right now from Eckes to the back bumper, the 17 of Priest. Priest with a great launch. He's going to be clear into turns 1 and 2. Has a chance to slide up in front of Zane Smith. He waited a little long. Smith's got a big run off the exit of turn 2 and may try a crossover down the backstretch. Run got stalled out on the back straightaway. It looked like he didn't hop out of line, and Ryan Priest will hold on to the lead into turns 3 and 4. Todd Bodine is up to 7th place. What a restart for the 62. He slides into the side of the truck to his outside of Derek Kraus, who's in a tight point situation right now with Crafton. Kraus is up to 7th. He needs these points. Crafton closing in with the trucks in front of him that pitted. He stayed out to hopefully get some sort of stage points, and he's going to get around his teammate, former teammate, I should say, Enfinger, for 9th place. Corey Heim, Christian Eckes side by side for 3rd. Heim sends it off with a slide job maneuver through turns 3 and 4. He's going to be clear. But now it's Zane Smith on the attack from Ryan Preece. Preece won the truck race at Nashville last season and has 2 top 5s and 4 top 10s in his 5 starts in the truck series so far this year. The only race he did not finish in the top 10 was that Charlotte race, in which he got wrecked on the overtime restart with an aggressive move from Hocevar at the end of the race. Otherwise, he probably would have had a second in the bag prior to that caution. But he has been stellar in his truck series starts this season, and even the one-off he had last year as well. And he's leading the way in the second half of Stage 2 currently. All those drivers on 4 fresh tires towards the back of the pack trying to take advantage. John Hunter Nemechek, Carson Hocevar, Matt DiBenedetto, Ben Rhodes. Some faster trucks back there. 2 of them in the regular season championship race. And with wins this season as well. $18 laps to go in Stage 2. Ryan Preece is the leader by half a second over Zane Smith in second place. Corey Hyman third, 2.1 seconds off the lead. Christian Eck is 2.9 seconds off the lead in fourth. Stuart Friesen is rounding out the top 5 at 3.1 seconds off the lead. Just past the halfway mark in today's race. Time for tonight's trivia question on the channel. And Nashville Superspeedway track fact. Who are the only 3 drivers to win a truck and Xfinity Series race at Nashville Superspeedway? That is tonight's trivia question. Who are the only 3 drivers to win a race at Nashville Superspeedway in the Xfinity and the Truck Series? Collectively in the chat, you guys need to name all 3. So it's a group effort from you guys in the chat tonight to try and answer tonight's trivia question. It is a group and collective effort. See if you guys can name all 3. I'll give you guys till lap 90 to do so. And that'll give you guys the answer if you can't get it before then. Track looks kind of like Bristol a little bit because of the concrete surface, I'd assume. It's really the only similarity between the two. It's a much different racetrack. Probably closer to Dover than Bristol, but even that, Dover's much higher banked. And it's a little bit shorter in length, too. Nashville's really a unique racetrack. It's almost like Rockingham used to be, but only a concrete layout of that. Because Rockingham was asphalt. That's probably the closest track in comparison to Nashville Superspeedway. Kyle Busch is one of them. That is true. Kyle Busch is one. David Niehoff says, Greg Biffle, welcome to the stream, by the way. David, that is not it. Keselowski, Harvick, not it either. Todd Bodine is not it. Todd Bodine has a couple of truck wins here, but he never won an Xfinity race at this racetrack. Keselowski also was an Xfinity winner here, but he never won a truck race at Nashville. But Kyle Busch is one of the 3. DiBenedetto, Hocevar, Nemechek all battling for position. DiBenedetto got loose off turn 4. Maybe had the air taken off the rear spoiler from the 42. Nemechek's going to take it 3 wide underneath him. Hocevar lifts to let the 2 go. He didn't want to be in the middle lane there. Nemechek slides up in front of the 25. Great crossover move from Hocevar. He pulls back to the inside of Nemechek off turn 2. What a battle right now for 16th. Remember, these guys are on fresher tires trying to cut through the field. And this could be a battle for what could potentially be the race lead if they go maybe right sides only or fuel only at the end of the stage. But they are using their tires up, battling each other as aggressively as they are right now, so I don't know what their strategy is. They're definitely further behind them what they were running before the yellow, except for DiBenedetto because he was at the back. It was probably up right around 15th when the caution came out anyway. After making an unscheduled stop during the stage 1 break, had to make a second stop. Tighten up some lug nuts that were loose originally on the racetrack. Side-by-side commercial break now from Fox. We'll keep our realistic commentary going as we have just 10 laps to go in stage number 2. Carl Edwards is another one of the drivers, by the way. So you guys have gotten 2 of them in the chat collectively. So Edwards and Kyle Busch are 2 of the 3. I will say this third one's going to be much harder. You're going to have to think outside the box for this third one. I don't know if anybody's going to get it. That's why I wanted you guys to get the question collectively. Again, tonight's trivia question at the halfway mark was who are the only 3 drivers in NASCAR history to win both an Xfinity Series and Truck Series race at Nashville Superspeedway. Kyle Busch, Carl Edwards were 2 of the 3. Who was the third? You guys collectively in the chat are working together to try and get tonight's trivia question. You have 4 more laps to try and get it. Side by side for 5th between the 18 and the 66. And Majeski will make the pass on the outside of Smith. Really pinched him off deep into the corner, and Smith had to roll out of the gas as he had a little bit of a slip up and a hiccup in the middle of the corner. Majeski's tires are actually holding on. He didn't take off well those first couple laps off the restart on right sides only, and I think that was just the takeoff of having the old left side tires. Once he got going about a handful of laps into the run, he stagnated in the 6th place position, which was where he was running prior to making the pit stop earlier. And sorry, that was actually for 10th place, not for 5th. Chandler Smith fell way back after that last restart. So never mind, I guess on Majeski, I guess he fell back to 11th at one point. Now he's back up to 10th. So he has had a net loss of about 4 positions taking the 2 tires, which is another reason why I'm kind of surprised that Hocevar, I guess Hocevar need to pay because of the damage as well as Nemechek. DiBenedetto is at the back. I don't know what kind of strategy they're going to have going forward because if they take right sides, that didn't work out for Majeski. On pretty much about the same amount of laps on his tires as what will be on those other 3 tires. And they had about the same speed, if not maybe even a little worse speed than Majeski, considering he was in 6th. Nemechek was in about 8th. Hocevar was 9th, and DiBenedetto was as high as 9th at one point in the race. B. Woodrow, welcome to the stream. The race is on Fox Sports 1 tonight. Jimmy Spencer is not one of the answers also to that. Rod G, welcome to the stream. But nope, Jimmy Spencer is not it. The end of this current lap right now when Ryan Preece crosses the start-finish line, that will be the end of the trivia question time. 5 laps to go in Stage 2 as Preece crosses the line. I've not seen the third one. Austin Dillon is not it at the buzzer either. Again, tonight's trivia question on the channel. Who are the only 3 drivers in NASCAR history to win both an Xfinity and a Truck Series race at the Nashville Superspeedway? Carl Edwards, Kyle Busch, you guys got those 2. Scott Riggs is the only other driver. An elite list there. Carl Edwards, Kyle Busch, and Scott Riggs are the only drivers in NASCAR history to win a Truck and Xfinity race at the Nashville Superspeedway. Man, I'm getting a lot of pop-ups from Dell. You guys probably can't see with my camera in the way in the bottom right-hand corner. Preece has opened up that lead to 1.2 seconds over Zane Smith, which is interesting because when Zane Smith had the lead earlier in the race, he was the one kind of maintaining, if not pulling away from Ryan Preece by a similar pace that Preece is running. That's how much the clean air advantage is at Nashville. And Ryan Preece having that great push on the inside from Christian Eckes that launched him to the lead in turns 1 and 2 has allowed him to get these points. A 17 truck is now being ran full-time by a full-time Truck Series driver, but they are locked into the Owner Series points championship, the Owner Series playoffs, and looking for a championship for the owner points because of the win last weekend by Todd Gilliland at Knoxville. And they're looking for more playoff points as far as the owner's points go if Preece can not only win this stage, but go on to eventually win the race as well. And Ryan Preece is only a couple laps away from winning the stage this time around. Hocevar and Nemechek still battling for position, not in position for stage points as they are side by side for 14th at the line. Hocevar went down to the apron through the tri-oval with a big runoff turn 4, glued to the yellow line, wiggling around quite a bit, still stays to the inside of the 4. I mean, this is about as good of a battle as you're going to find in this race so far tonight between the 42 and the 4. They've been around each other for a large portion of this stage, even prior, of course, to that caution, and the fact that they were involved in the yellow together, and they're still running as hard with one another, making that battle maybe even more fun. Ryan Preece will win Stage 2 by about 9/10 of a second over Zane Smith. Smith, who won Stage 1, will finish second in Stage 2. Corey Heim will finish third, just as he did in Stage number 1. Christian Eck is fourth, and Stuart Friesen rounds out the top 5 in the second stage tonight. Derek Kraus finishes 6th, Ben Rhodes 7th, Ty Majeski 8th, Todd Bodine 9th, and Grant Enfinger rounds out the top 10 in Stage 2. This is our 5th yellow of the race. We got 3 incidents causing cautions for spins. And pretty much 3 different areas of the racetrack. One off the exit of turn 2, one in the middle of 3 and 4, one in the middle of 1 and 2. And then the 2 stage breaks are the 5 yellows in total. Concrete Carl, that's right. That was another one of his nicknames. Confirmed Truex to return in 2023. Is this actually legit? Or is that just a bold prediction? Let me look on the NASCAR app to see if they have anything news-wise. I know Ricky Stenhouse Jr. had his contract extended for at least 2 years. It said multi-year deal. They're never specific, it seems like, with contracts in NASCAR. Yeah, it is true. Martin Truex Jr. to return to Joe Gibbs Racing 2023. So that's some breaking news during tonight's Truck Series race. So Stenhouse staying with the 47, JTG Doherty Racing for at least 2 years. And Martin Truex Jr. will return for at least 1 more year at Joe Gibbs Racing. And I think that is pretty much solidifying the fact that Gibbs will be staying in the Xfinity Series 1 more year. And I wonder if Gibbs might have talked Truex into saying, hey, can you stay for 1 more year? And then we're just going to have Ty move up to the Cup Series after 2023, which would probably be the final season for Truex, is what I'd have to imagine out of that. Truex hasn't won any races yet this year. Had 3 wins last year, all fairly early in the season, so it's been over a calendar year since Truex has won, but he's still been competitive, at least in the top 10 in points. I'm sure he can potentially get another win before his career's out, presumably in the next year and a half. It is legit, yep. Carl Edwards practically unbeatable at this place. He did have 3 Xfinity wins. I'll show you guys that racing reference page. Carl Edwards had 3 wins in a row in the Xfinity Series. Actually, this is 3 wins in a row in the Xfinity Series from 06 and then both races in 07. He also won 2 races in 2011 at Nashville. So 5 wins in the Xfinity Series at Nashville for Carl Edwards. Most of anybody in the Xfinity Series. He also had 1 truck win in 2003 as well. So 6 wins total between the 2 series. Kyle Busch had quite a few of his own. 2 in the Truck Series in 2011 and 2010. And he also had a win in the Xfinity Series, of course, last year in 2021. As well as 2009. 5 wins between the 2 series. Yeah, somebody said Brad Keselowski in the chat. He won an Xfinity race in 2010, but never won a truck race at this racetrack. Todd Bodine won a truck race in 2010. I thought he had 2. I guess he only had the 1, but he never won an Xfinity race here. And then Scott Riggs, who I mentioned, actually had 2 Xfinity race wins at Nashville in 2002 and 2003. And his Truck Series win came in the inaugural truck race at Nashville in 2001. You learn something new every day. And Scott Riggs in an elite list. It's a nice trivia question. Zane Smith scoring more stage points tonight than any other Truck Series regular, finishing first and second in the first two stages. Here come the pit stops to stage 2, the final stops likely of the night.
Final time tonight because they can get to the end on fuel from here. Regan Smith is there.
51 a quarter high Blake set truck right now. That's 6 guys just to get him clean air. They've been making good adjustments. The 17 of Brian Priest, too tight early on in the runs and stayed too tight in traffic towards the end when he caught some of that dirty air in lap vehicles. You see trouble on the right front. And the 98 of Christian Eckes, too loose to run high. Otherwise, he's been fairly happy with that. Josh?
And moving to the 38 of Zane Smith, too tight after stage 1. Well, the same problem. He said it's gotten worse since the sun has gone down. Still too tight, so they're going to try and make an adjustment to free him up.
Race off of pit road is going to be won by Parker Kligerman, going with 2 tires. Gains 19 spots. Everybody else behind him takes 4. So Kligerman pulling the same move Ty Majeski had. A little bit of a hiccup on the pit stop from Ryan Priest as the tire carrier rather on the front side had actually tripped, fell to a knee, got back up, and was able to finish servicing the race truck. Great job hanging onto the tire even after tripping, though, to keep from it being uncontrolled. So no penalty for Priest, but he definitely still had a fast stop, all things regardless, but it could have been much worse. He will be mid-pack on the restart, and that might cost him a shot to win, knowing how hard it is to pass back in traffic. He's definitely got one of the fastest trucks in the field. Again, it's tough to tell for sure who is faster between Zane Smith and Ryan Priest. Priest is second on the grid right now. It showed him 17th on our leaderboard. It was kind of wonky after the pit stop, so usually have to wait a little bit for that to scroll through. I asked you guys in the community tab on the channel earlier today the predictions from the viewers of the channel prior to tonight's live stream of who you thought was going to win tonight's race at Nashville. John Hunter Nemechek had the highest placed votes with 42%. Obviously, he's struggling so far tonight. Barely been inside the top 10, but he was the highest polled of the 4 drivers. Other was second, and a lot of people in the chat pretty much said Carson Hocevar to win as the other. A couple Ryan Priestes, but mostly Hocevar in the comments section. As far as the 34% for other, 12% said Zane Smith, who has dominated the race tonight, leading 70-plus laps. Ben Rhodes had 8% of the votes, Chandler Smith with 3%. Those 4 people every week in those polls are based off of the Vegas odds. So those were the top 4, and then other just kind of places the next remaining drivers if you ever think it's other. I'll have a poll on Sunday for the Cup race as well, so be sure to vote when the time rolls around. I'll try to remember to do that every weekend, even for races that I don't commentate. And I'll specify on the poll as well if that is the case or not, so that way you guys don't get confused every week if I'm doing the stream or not, because I don't always do them for the Truck and Xfinity races. This actually might be the last Truck Series live commentary stream, because looking at the rest of the schedule, the way it works out, it's going to be hard for scheduling conflicts for me to do another truck race this year. We've had a lot of them in recent weeks, so I'm sorry for that, but there will be more Xfinity and a lot more Cup races on the channel yet this season. Rod G, thanks for the $10 super chat, for the hard work you put in, and great live stream you've been giving all of us. Thank you, Keegan. Thank you, Rod G, for that donation. Greatly appreciate it. Fox is back from the commercial break, and they are heading into the Geico Restart Zone for what could potentially be the final restart of the race. In this final stage, John Hunter Nemechek had to make another stop after probably having some loose wheels. Big wheel spin from the 75 of Kligerman on the restart on his 2 old tires is sandwiching Ben Rhodes 3 wide middle with Enfinger underneath, and Kligerman is immediately going to lose a bunch of spots. One truck gets clipped into the wall. That's Zane Smith on the restart. Zane Smith squeezed into the wall from Derek Kraus in the 19. Smith has shuffled back to about 7th place now. He's looking to get around the 75 of Kligerman on the front stretch for 6th. He's going to be able to blow around him through turns 1 and 2, but Zane Smith's got some picking up to do, as well as the fact that Ryan Preece is leading this race. Even after that hiccup off of his pit stop, he was able to get to the lead on the inside lane in the restart. After Parker Kligerman did not take off well and kind of held up the field behind him. Preece already has probably about 6 or 7 truck lengths of a lead over Christian Eckes in second. DiBenedetto gets a massive push from Chase Purdy on the front stretch. He's going to take it 3 wide into turn 1 under Bodine and Ankrum. Near contact between Bodine and Ankrum in the middle of the corner. The 40 gets sideways off the exit of turn 2. Sandwich between Purdy and Ankrum, hangs on to it. We continue to stay green. It is a mad scramble right now from pretty much about 6th on back. Really 7th on back at this point. Zane Smith is 2.3 seconds off the lead. He just passed Ben Rhodes for 5th. Back in traffic is Zane Smith. And the battle for track position between the 17 and the 38 today has been very crucial. Watching Kroger thinking people think I'm crazy. Hey, you want to know what's going on with the race? I get it. If you don't have headphones in, I wouldn't see why you would probably be getting some sort of a look. Appreciate you sticking around in the chat, though, too. Through all of it. Billy Kramer, welcome to the stream. Eating pizza watching the race. There you go. Hunt Brothers Pizza, too. Coincidentally, while the Hunt Brothers Pizza race truck of Ryan Preece leads this race. Big moment from the 9. Blaine Perkins had the air taken off the left rear corner panel of his truck from Lawless Allen in the 45. That was right in front of John Hunter Nemechek, who was at the rear of the field after having to tighten some lug nuts that were loose after the pit stop during the caution period. And actually, Nemechek is a lap down. I didn't even realize that. So Nemechek is actually 1 lap down at 30th after that update. Had to actually repair damage from that spin with Hocevar earlier in the race. So it was not a loose wheel or a loose lug nut like we had seen from DiBenedetto earlier on in the day during the first stage break. It was damage from an earlier incident, a slide through the grass with Hocevar off turn 2 when Nemechek threw a bad block midway through the second stage. 42 laps to go. Preece has extended his lead to 1.1 seconds over Christian Eckes. Zane Smith is losing a little bit of time. You wonder how much damage he's got after getting squeezed into the wall on the restart as they were 3 wide off the exit of turn 2. Not a great pit stop for Zane Smith as well. Definitely didn't help him and put him in that uncompromised position, but it didn't help that the 75 also had an issue as well. So Chandler Smith also had a pit road penalty for taking equipment out of the box. The wedge wrench was still stuck in the race truck as he pulled out, tried to back in to take it out, but because he left the box completely, that resulted in a penalty. And he's also outside the top 20, so tough break for both the KBM trucks. One is a lap down at 30th of John Hunter Nemechek. A little bit of damage from earlier in the race. And now that penalty puts Chandler Smith outside the top 20. Corey Heim is barely inside the top 10. He was running third and finished third through the first 2 stages, but might have went the wrong way with some adjustments because he is dropping like a rock on this latest restart and is battling Hocevar for 8th and will lose that position and fall back to 9th. Next truck behind him is Kligerman on 2 old left side tires. Chandler Smith, by the way, is 22nd. I am not streaming tomorrow. Nope, no stream at all tomorrow on the channel. I'll be at a local dirt show. Be vlogging that experience. I think they're talking about Chandler Smith right now on the Fox broadcast about potentially trying to work his way through the field and have a shot at the win. He hasn't really had speed that's been capable of that. He ran 5th at the end of Stage 1, but actually fell towards the end of Stage 2 to about 9th or 10th. I think he finished 10th at the end of the second stage, so he barely has top 10 speed as it is. Corey Heim free falling as well. Seems like the KBM trucks were a lot faster earlier in the race during the more daylight portion, but now that the track is completely dark into the nighttime sky, they have not been able to keep up with the adjustments to their race trucks, and the speed is lacking in the second half of this race. "36 laps to go, side-by-side commercial break for Fox. Currently the top 10 has Ryan Preece in the lead, 1.8 seconds ahead of Christian Eckes in second. Stuart Friesen's in third, 3 seconds off the lead. Grant Enfinger fourth, 3.5 seconds off the lead. Zane Smith rounds out the top 5, 4.1 seconds off the lead. Smith has led the most laps today so far, with 70 laps led. He also won Stage 1, finished second in Stage 2. Ben Rhodes is running currently in 6th. Ty Majeski in 7th, Carson Hocevar 8th, Corey Heim 9th, and Parker Kligerman still hanging on to the top 10 after restarting at the front of the field because of taking 2 tires during the Stage 2 break. No more scheduled pit stop to the end of the race. The shortened race today, with it only being 200 miles and with the stage lengths, require no pit stops to be made during any of the stages throughout today's race. And track position's been so important that even if we get a late yellow after a long green flag run, I don't see the field pitting. At least the front half of it. Back half of the field, you'd probably have more of an incentive to pit. It's been tough to pass after a few laps after the restart so far tonight. The groove has slowly widened itself out throughout the course of the race, but it'll widen out more and more and more as the weekend carries on. Throughout the Xfinity and Cup race, I'm sure of as well. Caution is out on the Speedway. Fox just came back from the commercial break. I think my leaderboard's a little bit ahead. Yeah, I'm a little bit behind on Hulu right now, but caution is out. And waiting to see what it is. It is the 6th caution of the race. And it's unfortunately Todd Bodine. Bodine has spun into the grass on the tri-oval front stretch. Doesn't look like there's a lot of damage, but it looks like there's a little bit in the right rear corner panel, which probably tells me he went for a slide off the exit of turn 4 and lightly grazed the wall, if I had to imagine, and ended up turning down the track into the grass. Great save nonetheless from Bodine. We'll see the replay, I'm sure. Todd Bodine was in the top 10. That is very unfortunate. That was after qualifying outside the top 30 and on a tough racetrack to pass all day long. That is highly impressive. It didn't even really look like he grazed the outside wall with the spin. Really looped it around drastically off the exit of turn 4. Field's probably got about 15 to 20 laps on their tires right now. Again, I'd imagine the trucks at the front of the field will stay out. We're only going to be seeing drivers likely towards the back half of the field pit. I'm looking right around where like Max Gutierrez, maybe even Matt DiBenedetto in 13th. Kligerman could pit. He's on 2 tires in 12th. And if Kligerman pits, I just wonder if DiBenedetto on back pit, which would definitely be interesting, considering DiBenedetto's had top 10 speed today, still trying to recover from an unscheduled stop at the end of stage 1. Ryan Preece is your late prediction. Well, that's not fair. Once the drop of the green flag starts, you can't predict. I think you mentioned something in the chat about Hocevar potentially. Zane Smith's going to get another shot. That's big for him. He's led the most laps today, but lost a lot of ground after getting squeezed into the wall on that last restart. Bring Priest back into it. Zane Smith back into it. Unfortunately for Priest, that is not a caution he wanted to see. He was slowly pulling away from Eckes. Had about a 1.5 second lead and was about a tenth quicker every couple laps. It seemed he was pulling away gradually. But he was definitely faster than anybody else during that last green flag run. Last 2 green flag runs, for that matter. Which group do I think will qualify better? Cup 18-124 or 122-24? I don't know. I mean, so you're basically saying that Chastain and Byron are both going to qualify well, and you're basically asking me between Logano and Kyle Busch who's going to qualify better. I didn't look at the practice times from earlier today, so I really don't know. I was at work during it, and I haven't checked it since I got home. Got home, we streamed the truck race at Michigan on Nascar 06, and then ran this right after. Pulled the doubleheader, so I couldn't tell you. I probably lean towards Kyle Busch. I feel like the Toyotas have been collectively pretty well in qualifying this year, no matter the track. So I'd lean towards Kyle Busch. They've had speed on the intermediates this season too. Mostly on the 1.5 miles. This is a little less than that, and it races like a short track, so I don't know how that'll translate. But on the 1.5 miles, they've been fast. Chastain was fast. Sports and Gaming Central, welcome to the stream. Reaction to Fox missing the flip and near flip in the same race at Knoxville. Yeah, that kind of stunk. I mean, it would have enhanced our live race commentary last weekend. If I would have known that would have happened, I feel like my call would have been better of it, but we didn't even know that happened. And I was actually, even before I found out that it was a flip, I was wondering why they didn't have a replay at all of the Jessica Friesen flip. And the replay they did have of the Brett Moffitt incident, it was kind of a dust bowl from the camera angle they had. I feel like they should have had a better aerial shot considering it was only a half-mile racetrack. Like, if that's the only camera they had on the track at that angle, that's a terrible camera angle to have on a dirt track. Behind the field, when you know it's going to be dusty. That's just them not being prepared for dirt racing and how to present it as far as a presentation standpoint for the broadcast. So we're in the middle. Pit stops as Fox comes back from the commercial break. I can't tell who is on pit road, who stayed out. Regan Smith is interviewing David Gilliland.
David, how good is it to be David Gilliland right now? And what do you tell your driver at the end here?
Just stay focused. You know, Ryan's doing a great job. Just super proud of him and the team. Seth Smith, crew chief's done a great job all night. And just all the guys at DJ are working really, really hard and really proud of the trucks that we're bringing to the racetrack. So it all starts there. So, you know, it ain't over. There's a long way to go, but proud of the night so far.
Good luck at finishing it off. Thanks.
Yeah, good run for Ryan Preece so far. And also good run for Haley Deegan, currently in 11th. Benedetto stayed out. I want to see who all pitted. Max Gutierrez pitted. He was in 12th. Obviously, Todd Bodine pitted because he spun. Couple of trucks at the rear of the field like Blaine Perkins, Spencer Boyd, Colby Howard, Jesse Little, Stephen Parsons, Caden Honeycutt. They all pit too. Timmy Hill. But as far as the trucks that just pitted for tires, I'm probably looking at Max Gutierrez and Todd Bodine really being the only ones that can make their way somewhat through the field. They were both in the top 15. Obviously, Bodine was in the top 10. As long as Bodine doesn't have too much damage, which I don't think he does. Of course, they were interviewing David Gilliland because his own son really won for his race team last weekend. That same truck is being driven by Ryan Preece tonight and is in position to win. He'll be leading coming to this next restart. He has elected the outside lane Christian Eckes will be on the inside of row 1. Behind Ryan Preece on the outside will be Stuart Friesen in the 52. Inside row 2 will be Grant Enfinger, Zane Smith's outside row 3 with Ben Rhodes inside row 3. Will this be the final restart of the race? 26 laps to go at the Nashville Superspeedway. Green flag is back in the air. Good launch by the 98 of Eckes on the restart. He's aggressively going to side draft Fanny. Now nearly, down in the grass is Ben Rhodes. Rhodes gets squeezed into the grass by the 23 truck. Going to work his way back across traffic. Zane Smith gets around the 52 for third place on the outside lane. That was a blessing in disguise for Zane Smith, and he is charging hard in the leaders into turn 3. Side by side at the front of the field between Christian Eckes, who is on the bottom, and Ryan Preece on the outside. This is as close as Eckes has been to the lead all race long, and he is digging. First full-time season in the Truck Series for the 98. Eckes on the bottom lane, still holding on strong. Outside has been there at times today, but Preece is struggling on the outside to be able to clear Eckes, and they're still side by side on the back straightaway. Into turn 3, Zane Smith waiting in the wings behind him. Preece going to pinch the 98 off, drives it in deep himself in the middle of the corner, and they're still side by side off the exit of turn 4. Now Preece is clear off the exit of the corner. Zane Smith with the run on the 98 of Eckes. Looks to the outside. Eckes with a block. Smith going to go to the bottom now. Eckes down low to try and dive back underneath the 17 of Preece. Preece in the middle of the upper groove is going to get a better run off the exit of turn 4, and he's going to be able to pull Eckes down the back straightaway. 3 wide in the back half of the top 10 between Enfinger, Corey Heim, and Matt DiBenedetto. 4 wide to the inside. Into turn 3 goes Majeski, and into the wall hard goes the 3 trucks to the outside of the 66. Big hit for Grant Enfinger, Corey Heim. Chandler Smith spins to try and miss the wreck. Matt DiBenedetto's comeback performance will come to an end. He drove that truck up to 6th. On the restart, he was on fresh tires, too. DiBenedetto was on... Well, no, he wasn't on fresh tires, but he drove up to 6th after having that issue earlier. Ty Majeski made a 4-wide move late into turn 3, and that was just never going to work, and the 3 trucks above him all wrecked. And I'm not sure if Majeski had made contact with DiBenedetto, who was the first truck above him, or not. Corey Heim seems to be injured right now. He was late to pull the window net down and seemed to be hurt over the radio back into his team. He took a hard lick. Both him and Grant Enfinger took pretty hard licks into the outside wall, nearly head on. Heim is out of his race truck right now. He is standing. Might have the wind knocked out of him. He is walking around under his own power. A little bit of a limp. Heim is climbing into the back of the pickup truck that will take him into the infield care center. Following a heavy hit in turns 3 and 4. Replay on the screen right now for those of you watching on Fox Sports 1. Ty Majeski again took a late move 4 wide into turn 3. And the 3 trucks to his outside ended up wrecking with just nowhere to go. I mean, 3 wide at times has caused some contact and near wrecks today. 4 wide was just never going to work. And Majeski honestly held his lane for the most part pretty well. The 66 never moved up, but there was just a lack of room with the 4 wide into the corner, which caused the wreck. So I know Majeski made the late dive, but he actually held his line pretty well. I don't know if I completely fault Majeski, because he didn't slide into DiBenedetto. It looked like they just ran out of room above him. It's hard to put the full blame on Majeski. Obviously, the blame, if he didn't take it 4 wide, they wouldn't have wrecked. But at the same time, he never made contact with DiBenedetto on the outside of him. There was contact with the right rear corner panel of Matt DiBenedetto from the, would have been the 51 of Corey Heim, would have been the next truck to his outside, because in the fourth lane was Enfinger. And the contact of the right rear DiBenedetto shot him into the outside wall. He pancaked the car at the right front. And then the 51 of Heim would have gotten hooked in the right rear as well simultaneously with the 23 of Enfinger. That sent the 51 of Heim head on into the outside wall in turn 3, along with Enfinger as well, crunching more onto that right front to head-on angle impact as well. Couple of big hits in there, and an accident with just over 20 laps to go. Tonight's Rackley Roofing 200 at Nashville. Chandler Smith spun to avoid the accident. He didn't hit anything. But obviously with the spin, he's going to be towards the back again. I don't know if Parker Kligerman pitted or not. He was on 2 tires earlier. I don't know if he pitted that yellow before that. As soon as I can find out, if I find out, I'll let you guys know. And I say that because he's up to 9th. John Hunter Nemechek got the free pass after the spin from Todd Bodine earlier, so he got back on the lead lap prior to that caution. He's up to 19th. Good contenders out early, 4 wide does not work at Nashville. No, it does not. Yeah, a lot of damage to all 3 trucks that were involved in that accident. And they will all be done for the day. DiBenedetto might be able to continue, but not at full speed. And that's likely going to put DiBenedetto in a must-win situation in these last 2 races of the regular season at Mid-Ohio and Pocono. Now, I will say DiBenedetto has been a good road course racer in the Cup Series. I don't know if he's got any experience at Mid-Ohio necessarily, but maybe that could translate. I don't see him winning at Pocono. Mid-Ohio might be what is circled for DiBenedetto to potentially try to go for a win. But he came into this race 32 points below the cutoff line. Now, let me double check on that. 43 points below the cutoff line, but was having a great day. Crafton didn't get any stage points earlier, and DiBenedetto at least did in stage 1, and he was back in the top 10. Crafton was still outside the top 10. DiBenedetto was up to 6th, and continuously moving forward on that restart. Glad everyone's all right. Yeah, that is true. Hopefully Corey Heim isn't injured, and it was only the wind that got knocked out of him, but he was walking, it seemed like, with a little bit of a limp after that heavy impact when he hopped into the truck that was going to take him to the infield care center. Couple big hits following an accident here tonight on a late race restart. Probably about 3 or 4 laps after the restart itself. So the caution officially came out with 24 laps to go. So about 3 laps after the restart. 4 wide into turn 3 on a late move by Ty Majeski. Ran out of real estate with the 3 trucks on the outside of him. And they all kind of hooked each other simultaneously and ended up in the outside wall. All 3 of them hard, really. But especially the 51 and the 23 truck got the worst of it. Grant Enfinger also came in 9th in the playoff standings. 58 points to the good. But Derek Krause has scored stage points in each of the first 2 stages tonight. So he could definitely gain on Enfinger quite a bit. I would not be surprised if Crafton could actually jump ahead of Enfinger in the points, despite Crafton not having a great day on stages, because he is up to 7th after that wreck. And obviously Enfinger's out of the race. It's another restart that Zane Smith is going to have another shot at the lead as well, and at a potential 4th win this season. He went from 5th to, well, really 6th on that restart up to 3rd. And I would have to imagine with his lane choice, he'll probably pick outside row 2. And the outside lane's been preferred on the restart. Eckes took off well on the inside, and there have been drivers to take the lead from the inside earlier in the day. In fact, 3 times the leader has come from the inside lane, and probably just as many on the outside. So I almost wonder if there even is a preferred lane at this point. It seems pretty even, just depending on that initial launch and the push from behind. It can be done from either lane. Ryan Preece elects the inside this time. I don't think he has elected the inside for a restart all day. He was on the inside on a restart back in stage 1 earlier in the race, and Zane Smith beat him, but Zane Smith also beat him on the inside at one point himself. Here's an interview with Grant Enfinger as he has exited the infield care center.
When he got wrecked, we were 3 or 4 wide going into turn 3 there, and never saw the replay. I guess this is it right here. Got wrecked, but 4 wide at Nashville probably ain't going to work most of the time. But getting down to the end of the race, everybody going crazy like always in these truck races. So just a tough break. I mean, these guys at GMS Racing and GMS Fabrication worked so hard. Feel like we hit on some stuff was a little promising. We didn't get it dialed in during the race, but hopefully we got a direction that's more promising for our future. But just hate it ended it that way tonight.
Glad you're okay, Grant.
16 laps to go on the restart. Ryan Preece on the inside. Eckes on the outside into the Geico Restart zone. Great launch by the 17. And he is going to be clear well before turn 1. Oh, truck hits turn. Deegan's around. Going into turns 1 and 2, she got hooked in the right rear. And that's going to bring out another caution initially following the restart. She was in 11th place. I don't know who hooked her. Or maybe she came up to throw a block, but I saw somebody sparking, and maybe she tried to dodge that truck that was sparking and then ended up getting turned. Well, she was the one that was sparking. I don't know. There were a lot of sparks going on middle of the pack on the restart, and then Deegan gets hooked in the right rear almost simultaneously. And we have another caution. Didn't even get into turn 1. Preece had a great launch on the restart, but it's going to be all for naught. He's going to have to try and do it again. Sound like it came from the 22, which is Max Gutierrez. Yeah, I mean, he just ran right through her, honestly. I mean, it's that kind of point, though, where nobody's lifting that early into the restart. I mean, they're probably not even up to 4th gear yet, as they weren't even down into turn 1, and Gutierrez got into the rear of Hailie Deegan, just hooked her. Gutierrez did probably have a better launch because he has 4 fresh tires. He was one that pitted before the second to last restart. One of the few drivers that pitted, so I know for a fact he has fresher tires. And with that, probably just got a better launch than everybody in front of him because they're all on older tires, which led to him getting into the back bumper of Deegan and turning her into the outside wall.
He said she was lifting.
I don't know that she was necessarily lifting. It didn't really look like that. I think Gutierrez just had a great launch considering he has fresher tires than everybody in front of him. And just had much more speed carrying into the corner. Again, they weren't even into the corner yet. I want to see where the sparks were coming from, if that was in front of these two or not. No, the sparks were actually from the 62 of Todd Bodine, and he was a couple rows behind the one of Deegan, so Deegan definitely didn't lift. And found out that the sparks were coming from the 62 of Bodine. He had spun, bringing out the initial caution with about 30 laps to go, which has led now to 2 more cautions following that restart. Bodine also on fresher tires, but obviously they had something dragging. $80 people currently watching. Like and subscribe for more daily NASCAR content. We have 13 laps to go in the Rackley Roofing 200 at Nashville Superspeedway for tonight's Camping World Truck Series event live on KRC. We'll be commentating, or I will be commentating, this weekend's NASCAR Cup Series race on Sunday as well on the channel. So 2 races will be commentated this weekend on the channel for NASCAR. And our Cup Series live stream will begin at 4:30 p.m. Eastern Standard Time Sunday evening. The race starting about a quarter after 5 will be the drop of the green flag. Our pre-race coverage will begin at 4:30. Carson Hocevar, Tyler Ankrum on backed, all pitted at lap 121. So only the top 5 are going to have the old tires. I didn't realize that many trucks pitted. Probably because they were in the middle of stops when they came back from a commercial break earlier. So Carson Hocevar is actually first of everybody on 4 fresh tires, which also would lead me to believe that Haley Deegan probably had fresher tires too, as she was in the middle of all that. And if that was the case, then I don't know how Gutierrez had that good of a launch on the restart. But I don't think the one lifted, though. I think he just got through the gears maybe a little bit quicker than everybody else. And again, like at that point, you're not even into turn 1 yet where you have to lift going into the corner. It's kind of a freak thing, I guess. Yeah, Haley had a good... I mean, pretty much everybody on the inside had a good launch. Because Ryan Preece led the inside lane on that restart. He obviously had a great launch, and everybody else behind him did. So I don't know what really happened there. That was a freak accident. But yeah, Carson Hocevar. Would 6 wide work in a corner at Mid-Ohio? No, it would not. That track is super narrow. Alright, well, again, we are under caution right now for those of you just tuning in. Late in this race, we're probably going to have a restart with less than 10 laps to go. Her luck is so bad. Yeah, I mean, sometimes you put yourself in those situations when you're in the middle of the pack, but tonight's one of those nights where she was flirting with a top 10 on that restart. And the inside line took off well on the restart. I would not doubt that she could have gotten up to 9th or 10th on that restart and gained a couple positions. Would she have held on? Who knows? But at that point, initially... yeah, she was looking like she could have had a top 10 today. Here is Corey Heim following his wreck. A couple cautions go.
Under caution right now, here with Corey Heim, just checked and released from the care center. From your perspective, what happened?
This check's just really about track position, and I think these guys were just going for all they got, and no fault to anyone here really. I think just clearly we're 4 wide, and I think the 25 was just trying to drive it in deep, and I hooked his right rear. I don't think anyone's at fault. That's just hard racing. I don't think we should have been 4 wide, but that's just kind of what happened. So really thankful for the safety of these KBM trucks. I kind of feel like I got punched in the gut by Floyd Mayweather a little bit, but come out unscratched. I'm all good.
Glad to see you're okay, Corey.
Indeed. Thank you.
So it seems like he just had the wind knocked out of him, which is good to hear following that incident. The radio was tough to hear after he was radioing back to his crew following the accident. I thought he was severely hurt there for a second, so good thing he was not. Green flag going to be back in the air with 10 laps to go. Preece again on the inside lane with Eckes to the outside in row 1. Another good launch by Preece, but he is not clear of Eckes. Eckes hanging on to that right rear corner panel off into turns 1 and 2. Zane Smith going all the way to the outside. He's going to take it 3 wide to get around both Friesen and Hocevar underneath them. Again, Hocevar, the first driver on fresh tires, about 30 lap fresher tires than Ryan Preece and the rest of the field in front of him. Side by side between Hocevar and Ty Majeski on the front stretch for 4th place as the top 3 run Preece, Eckes, Zane Smith. Ryan Preece is obviously the leader in the race. Eckes 2nd, Zane Smith 3rd, Ty Majeski 4th, Carson Hocevar is actually going to clear Majeski for 4th. Big block by Zane Smith on a slide job move to get around Eckes, and Hocevar is coming. Big run after the slide job and maybe a lift by Eckes off the exit of turn 4 when Smith got around him, and Hocevar is up to 3rd through turns 1 and 2. Hocevar and Majeski are the first 2 trucks on fresh tires trying to run down the leaders right now. 30-lap fresher tires are going to have 7 laps to go this time by. Hocevar is 1.3 seconds off the lead from Preece. Zane Smith in 2nd is 1.1 seconds behind Preece, with Hocevar right behind him. A rally after Hocevar came from deep in the field midway through the race after a spin from Nemechek off his front bumper when Nemechek threw a bad block towards the end of stage 2. There was a little bit of damage to the right front of Hocevar's race truck. Zane Smith 0.2 of a second quicker that last lap than Ryan Preece. Now Preece is running the bottom lane down on the yellow line. Zane Smith's kind of running the middle lane through the corner, so that's probably giving him just a tad bit more straightaway speed and a better drive off. Hocevar also running the bottom near the yellow line, probably just trying to get a little bit of clean air on his nose. Compared to the 78 of Smith. Smith a little higher than just the middle that time through 1 and 2. He is definitely closing on Ryan Preece. Will he get there, though, is the next question. Does he have enough laps? Max Gutierrez trying to flirt with a top 10 right now. And actually with a top 5. Side by side with Eckes for 5th place, 6th place rather, Friesen right in front of him in 5th. And the rookie Gutierrez, who brought out that last caution turning Haley Deegan, had a great restart following that incident. Was already flirting with a top 10 before that, and he is going to be well on his way to a top 10 as long as it not only stays green, but he stays out of trouble to the end. Really sideways through turns 3 and 4 and almost lost control underneath the 98 trying to go for broke, and he's going to lose a spot to anchor him. Fighting maybe a little bit too hard trying to get that 6th place position. Should probably just try to hold on to what he's got here to the end of the race and not risk wrecking the race truck and ending a great performance. There's a slow truck off the exit of turn 2 right now, but we continue to stay green. Zane Smith is continuously closing on Ryan Preece, 0.6 of a second off the lead now. Hocevar 0.8 of a second off the lead as they have 3 laps to go at the line. Kligerman is a slow truck. He is on the front stretch. He may have just gotten into the wall. We continue to stay green. Lettering rubbed off the right side tires right now for Kligerman. He was in the back half of the top 10. Nemechek has now gotten around him for the 10th place position. Again, we continue to stay green. Zane Smith is closing. Hocevar all over the back of the 38 truck. And big run off the exit of turn 4. Smith is charging hard after Preece. 2 laps to go. Preece finally going to change his line. He's going to go to the middle to upper groove. Smith down to the bottom on the yellow line. 3 trucks under a blanket within a couple truck lengths with a lap and a half to go into turns 3 and 4. Smith back to the middle to upper groove. Ryan Preece just a tad below him. Hocevar down to the bottom. Going to get underneath Zane Smith. No, not quite. Off the exit of turn 4. White flag in the air. 1 lap to go. Sponsored by Credit One Bank. Will this be the last chance for Smith? Into turns 1 and 2. He's going to drive it in deep. Down to the bottom. But Ryan Preece is right in front of him. Air taking off the nose of the 38. They both drove it in hard. Smith loses the front of his race truck. Keeps it off the wall. Hocevar is going to get underneath him for second and pass him into turns 3 and 4, and Ryan Preece is going to drive away with it. Slide job now by Hocevar into turns 3 and 4 for second. He is going to be clear side by side in a photo finish behind, but it's Ryan Preece who is going to win at the Nashville Superspeedway. Zane Smith made a crossover move, and by about a half a truck length will finish in second in front of Hocevar, who ends up third. Ryan Preece will win tonight's Truck Series race at Nashville. Back-to-back Nashville truck wins for Preece. Held on a late charge from Zane Smith and Carson Hocevar to win this one. 11 different winners in the Truck Series this season. The 6th non-Truck Series regular to go to victory lane this year. Preece not running full-time in any of the top 3 series in NASCAR, just kind of fluctuating a part-time schedule between all 3 series this season. He has made the most of it in the Truck Series for sure, though. Getting his first win, 3 top 5s and 5 top 10s in 6 races against Charlotte, the only race which he didn't finish in the top 10. And that was the day he was in second, leading into an overtime restart where him and Hocevar got together on the final restart. Really of no fault to Preece. Great save, by the way, from Zane Smith to keep from not only wrecking his truck, but obviously not running into the back of Ryan Preece as well, allowing all 3 to get to the checkered flag and finishing this race under green. Ryan Preece will lead the most laps with 74 en route to victory, leading the majority of stage 3 and also winning stage number 2. Fireworks in the background. You guys are going to hear an interview from all the top finishers, starting with, of course, race winner Ryan Preece.
You lead a ton of laps tonight. You go back-to-back at Nashville. How good was this thing? And tell me about the battle at the end of this race.
I don't ever like it to be that close, but, my hat's off to DGR and this Hunt Brothers Ford F-150. Really happy Scott Hunt and the Hunt Brothers crew and all of them are here tonight for this one. And we get a second guitar. I might have to start a band.
You might have to start a band. You might have to take some lessons as well. And you also have $50,000 extra after winning the Triple Truck Challenge.
I like it. That sounds good, man. I just want you guys to know a lot of this is built in the shop. The speed is built in the shop, and these guys work their tails off, and I know what it takes to win races, and they give me phenomenal race cars. So just proud to be the one holding the steering wheel.
You talked about that battle towards the end of the race, closer than you wanted it to be. What exactly happened? How did they get that run and get back to you?
Just old tires, your heat cycles, they're chattering, they're kind of doing everything. The biggest thing I had was clean air and to put as much dirty air on him as possible. I wasn't going to give it up.
Ryan Preece, your winner at Nashville.
Congratulations to Ryan Preece winning tonight's Truck Series race in the Rackley Roofing 200 at the Nashville Superspeedway. He definitely deserved it. He went out there, won, and ran top 2 all race. It was really between him and Zane Smith, and it came down to the final lap. 74 laps led for Preece today, 70 laps led for Smith today, and they each won a stage as well. That's how tight of a battle it was all day between the 17 and the 38. And like I said, it came down to the final lap. Hocevar had a shot there late as well on fresher tires. Was just kind of hoping that maybe on that last lap that Smith was going to get into Ryan Preece in turns 1 and 2. He did not. He lost it a little bit. Hocevar got around him with a slide job in 3 and 4 for second, but then Smith crossed him over back to the start-finish line by about half a truck length to finish in second. Margin of victory, just over a half a second, pretty much a half a second exact, between Ryan Preece and Zane Smith. Average race speed of 100.39 miles an hour. And this race did not go to overtime today. Ended with a 10-lap green flag run to the end of the race despite a few late yellows in this one. So Ryan Preece will go on to win his first Truck Series race of the season, back-to-back again at Nashville. As I mentioned, 2 guitars for him. Zane Smith will finish in second. Again, he won stage number 1, so he got a playoff point. Most importantly for Zane Smith tonight, even though he didn't get the win, he will take over the regular season points lead and have a nice cushion going into the final 2 races of the regular season. So not only has the most wins this year, but looking to lock up an additional 15 playoff points Obviously got another with the stage win today as well. He is looking like almost a lock for the championship for the way things are going right now. Carson Hocevar is going to end up finishing in third. Another great run for him. Even with the injury, Ty Majeski ends up finishing in fourth place. Was underneath that four-wide battle, which caused a big wreck earlier on in this final stage. Still ended up with a top 5 run as Stuart Friesen rounds out the top 5 in fifth. Christian Eckes finishes in 6th place. Tyler Ankrum 7th. Max Gutierrez with a great run tonight finishes in 8th. John Hunter Nemechek came back to finish in 9th after an earlier spin. And Matt Crafton kind of lucked his way into a top 10 with a few trucks in the top 10 wrecking in front of him, but nonetheless, he didn't run there all night, but still will finish there. Kind of a Matt Crafton-like performance this season. And able to get another one. And in fact, Derek Kraus did not have a good final restart, lost positions, and ended up finishing in 11th, one spot behind Crafton. I think overall he'll gain on Crafton in points because he scored more stage points than him today, but not as many as what it was looking like for most of the race that Kraus was going to gain over the 88 Crafton. Ben Rhodes had an off night all day, was outside the top 10, ended up finishing in 12th. Chase Purdy 13th, Dean Thompson 14th, and Chandler Smith, who just kept dropping like a rock there the second half of the race, ends up finishing 15th. Also spun trying to avoid that big pile up in turns 3 and 4 earlier, but even before that he was struggling to run in the top 10 towards the end of the race. Colby Howard finishes in 16th, Chris Wright 17th, Blaine Perkins 18th, Jesse Little 19th, and Parker Kligerman got in the wall late, was in the top 10. He falls back to 20th. Caden Honeycutt 21st, Stephen Parsons 22nd, and well, first we'll get back to Zane Smith. Here's his post-race interview.
Clean air. Ryan just did a really good job of shutting my air off there, but just really, really tough to pass. And once we had that really bad stop, lost 10 spots, I was worried. And so to battle back there and contend for a win says a lot about my Speedco Ford F-150 and my front row team. And so just, man, another fast Ford, just not quite enough.
Second place finish for Zane Smith. Regan?
Regan Smith with Carson Hocevar.
Just third. That doesn't tell the whole story, Carson. You guys had to battle through a lot during the middle of this race. You had the contact with the Ford truck. Still persevered to get a good top 5.
Yeah, it's I thought it was just gonna be like our year. We run really good and have something happen. But I'm tired. I'm actually wore out. I haven't really got to work out or do anything, so I'm a little winded. But the 42 truck was pretty good, but we struggled to find the balance there, and finally hit it almost too late. But it's tough. Like, it is so hard to win these races and hard to get past. Clean air is so important. I had 20-something lap better tires than them, and still really, I was better than 38, better than 17 at some point in the corner, and then I just pushed him away from me. And my best chance was to push the 38 and let him take the shot, and I didn't have enough momentum built up when they got close and lost their momentum. But it's overall really good for Worldwide Express, Premier Security, everybody. Phil Gould. Finally, we finished probably where we deserved to finish.
Solid night for Carson Hocevar.
That is a good point that Hocevar made, and I was wondering if he was going to do that late when he was closing in behind Zane Smith, that the best bet for him was to kind of let Zane Smith continue to run Priest down with Hocevar all over his back bumper that entire final run to the finish. And if Smith had a shot to get underneath him, maybe the best case scenario, they could have taken each other out, or they could have at least slowed each other up enough for Hocevar to make a 3-wide move. Whatever the case was, I think that was going to be his best opportunity. Smith took the dive into turns 1 and 2 on that final lap, but was just a little bit too far behind and just not quite enough of a run going into the corner to get underneath of Ryan Priest, and then overdrove it and had a shot at second there at the end, but got crossed over in the final corner. Maybe drove it in a little too deep. He probably didn't have to drive it in that deep to get around Smith, who had a lot slower momentum down the backstretch after that failed attempt to get around Priest, and the fact that he almost got in the wall and lifted quite heavily for Hocevar to get in that position to take over second there at the end. But nonetheless, great night for all three of those race drivers. Definitely probably deserving to finish top 3, 1 through 3, as they finished at that. Going back on with the finishing order, again, we were at Stephen Parsons in 22nd. Timmy Hill finished 23rd. Lawless Allen 24th. Spencer Boyd 25th. Nick Lights was the last truck in the lead lap in 26th. Todd Bodine finished 2 laps down in 27th. Again, he was sparking on that second to last restart. I think they came in and lost a couple laps under the last caution. Haley Deegan ended up getting wrecked there on that second to last restart. Unfortunately, she was in 11th, and really no fault of her own there. It was looking like she could have gotten into the top 10 on that last restart. Obviously, DGR had a great night, considering that the 17 was fast all day, and Deegan had a fast truck as well. At least has had the capability of running top 10 there at the end, and unfortunately, things just did not go her way. That's kind of been the luck of really her career in the Truck Series, whether it's been her fault or not. I mean, it's just kind of fitting that that's the way the race ended for her. Chris Hacker ends up finishing in 29th. Tanner Gray, he had a really crazy race. He started the race a lap down, and then he ended up getting his lap back, drove back into the top 15. Then he had a blown right front tire, and his race was pretty much over from there. Middle of stage 2 when that happened. They didn't have a caution for him blowing the tire either, so he lost like 6 laps under green and finished 7 down in 30th. Matt DiBenedetto finishes 31st rather. He was out of the race, as well as Enfigure 32nd, Corey Hine 33rd. They got in an accident late in the race with just over 20 laps to go on a late restart. A few laps after the restart time, Majeski took it 4 wide into turn 3. No contact with Majeski down at the bottom. It actually held his lane really well, but because they were 4 wide and it was Nashville, the 3 trucks on the outside of him just couldn't keep it off of one another. It was not going to be possible, really, and that ended up causing that accident as they all kind of hooked each other simultaneously in the right rear corner panel and hard hits in the outside wall, but luckily all 3 of them were okay. Camden Murphy spun early in the race in stage 1, finished 34. Jack Wood as well in lap 7 spun, backed it into the wall at the front bumper of Crafton, finished 35th. And then Chase Janes had a mechanical failure on lap 1 that came back out on the racetrack to complete that lap, and then came back into the pits. And he ends up rounding out the field today. So that was the full field rundown. Only 4 drivers led laps. Only 2 of them led laps under green flag conditions. Both Klickerman and Majeski led laps because they took 2 tires during pit stops under the stage breaks, and they lost the lead on the restart. Here's Max Gutierrez with his post-race interview following a top 10.
Since the first race back in Charlotte, I learned as much as I can. The draft, the other drivers. And now here at Nashville, it was perfect for us, Practice, we were learning the track, and qualify went very good for us, but then we had an issue. And now in the race, I mean, it was perfect. We didn't make so many mistakes. That's why we are inside the top 10, and I'm very happy. I'm very thankful with all the people, my sponsors. We have a new sponsor this race. ITS, thanks for all the support. Also Tough Build, Bolsa, DX, and Telsa for everything. And yeah, I'm super happy. And actually, like in 4 hours, I have another. I have a plane, so I can go back to Mexico and have another race on Sunday.
The racing doesn't stop for Max Gutierrez. Got to hop on a plane and race.
Oh man, I love that smile. Though.
One quick look at the point standings following tonight's race. Matt Crafton lost points to Derek Kraus, but he is still 29 points above Derek Kraus after a 10-point penalty from the 19 team, so he actually came in 37 points below the cutoff line, but now is 29 points below the cutoff line with 2 races to go. Mid-Ohio, Pocono, the last 2 races for the Truck Series this season, and they have a couple weeks off before they go to Mid-Ohio the weekend after the 4th of July, so they'll be off next week, and then the following week will be that Mid-Ohio race. Fox is going off the air. That is pretty much going to be it for us today as well. We've gone through all of our post-race analysis. Thank you, everybody, for tuning in on this Friday night. Can't wait to see you guys on Sunday. That'll be the next time I'll see you guys for the next live stream. 4:30 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. NASCAR Cup Series live commentary live stream of the Ally 400. Again, can't wait to see you guys for that one. Thank you. Hit that like button. Subscribe for more daily NASCAR content on your way out tonight. It looks like we're at 54 likes on the stream. And I think we had over 80 people watching at one point towards the end of the race as well. So again, thanks for everybody coming out. I'll see you guys Sunday. Have a good one. Until then, enjoy the Xfinity race. And can't wait. Thanks. Have a good night.